My worst flight will be the Jets. You essentially have a child-minded quarterback, no sense of reading the room, particularly the most important room, the locker room. Be better.
He probably has no manners. He's probably just like peanuts. Just me and Kyle Long today in the studio. Macon is out selling a house, trying to sell my house.
Yeah, so Megan has a job.
Yeah. So...
Well, it's kind of nice to be able to see you and not have to. We cut out the middleman today.
We're usually looking through that beautiful head of hair that Macon has to see each other as he sits in the middle here. Like he's fucking Tony Dungy or something.
Maria Taylor.
No, I'm Maria Taylor. You're who else sits over there? Is it
Jason Garrett?
Yeah, you're Jason Garrett. I'm Maria Taylor.
Out of those
and
people,
he's Tony
I would
Dungy.
at least like to be Jason Garrett.
You really don't like his analysis.
Sometimes I'm like, did anybody prep Jason Garrett for what they're about to talk about? Because, it seems like it doesn't.
He had a head scratcher last night, Reed. I can't remember what it was. We were sitting there watching, and I was like, what the fuck is he talking about?
It's almost cute. He looks lost at times.
No, I like it. Let's not.
He's a great coach.
You're burying Jason Garrett here, and I'm not with it.
I have fun watching Sunday Night Football and poking fun because I work in TV now, and people probably wouldn't laugh at the things I laugh at. But it stands out to me because I've been in the studio and it's like, that's funny.
Okay, go.
He said something like, just another great game with these two great teams. Waha.
Yes.
Football.
Yes.
Football.
Every week it's something like that.
Yeah, well, Macon's our Tony Dungy. For some fucking reason, he's sitting in the middle. And we got to, you know what, though? We miss him and he'll be back soon. Sell the house. Monday, Sell the house, Make, please.
Yeah.
America's teams.
We've got a few.
Some guy from Kansas City was complaining about America's teams in the mentions. He was like, oh, it's a good thing I can skip ahead. I was like, well, imagine me caring what the fuck you have to say about America's teams.
And imagine thinking we have to put the Chiefs in there every week.
Maybe it's about the fact that the Chiefs haven't been in it.
They don't understand that it's not a power ranking. It's an America's team ranking.
Yeah, he doesn't like it. Guy in Kansas City doesn't like it.
You want me to kick off the American
He doesn't hear this either because he skipped ahead.
Dickhead.
How do we know he's a dickhead?
Nobody tell him we called him a dickhead.
He doesn't like the segment. Guy doesn't like the segment. You know what I was going to do? Just do Coast Guard, Army, Navy, Merchant Marines, the whole thing, and then make the guy feel bad.
Salvation Army.
It's a big week for the Salvation Army. Somebody might jump into a bucket on Thursday. Like Zeke used to jump in the bucket. All right, so America's teams. All right, I'll go. And this might be on your list too, Kyle. This might be our only overlap. The Bears bachelor party.
You can have that one.
Okay, those guys. That's an America's team if I've ever seen one. Those guys, 30 deep?
Amazing.
Just basically all white guys. It's definitely America's team.
How hard is it to get that many guys to do the same thing without fucking it up? Like, I can't get three guys to show up on time for a golf match in our own town.
They did a good job. That's a lot easier than being summoned to a wedding where you have to go to Men's Warehouse and get fitted for a suit. It's like, we're just going to send you a Mike Ditka costume.
Thank you.
I hope they hit Northside Tavern in Atlanta. That's one of my favorite bars in the world, Kyle. You've never been there, but one day we'll go.
The Northside Tavern. I just want to go to Magic City.
Google that shit.
One of my teammates had a backpack. I always said, where'd you get that?
My wife listens to this pod.
I've never been, so.
My wife's also okay with me going to a strip club. I don't know if that's changed. I haven't tested that hypothesis.
The allure to
years.
Magic City, though. It's in Drake songs, stuff like that.
Northside Tavern, Kyle. Great live music in that.
Oh,
in
that
place
looks
right
like
there.
a little lively spot.
Oh,
there.
it's an incredible bar. It's incredible, and I hope those guys got to go to that bar. A tough scene for them to go down there dressed up like Mike Ditka. I mean, like, it's so worth it until you're walking out.
Yeah.
At least, though, there's 30 people.
And everybody loves you.
You can hide. Yeah, it's
even
good.
If you're a Falcons fan, you're like, look at these guys.
People love Bears fans. Like, people really do. They're lovable. Like, we can, Big Cat is a perfect Bears fan representative.
Yes.
Just like it's disarming how much you expect to suck. You know what I mean?
And how much Bears fans enjoy bitching.
And it usually comes true.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about the Justin Fields thing in a little bit. But all right, another one. South Carolina, America's team. I mean, Sunday, Saturday, it was almost Sunday because I was waiting, and I'll talk more about this with Nicole Auerbach at the end of the show, but I was fucking waiting to sweat the Utes. The Utes were on the, I don't know, like the Ocho or something. They wouldn't put the damn game on because South Carolina was all now you can't leave with Tennessee. They were. It was the fourth quarter took, I don't know if anybody timed that fourth quarter. I did. It took so long. Not only did you get jumped in Columbia, but they wouldn't let you leave. There were like 15 scoring plays. There were 15 injuries. There were commercial breaks, the whole thing.
College games are way too long. They got to shorten them.
Oh, 10:30 p.m. Utah, Oregon started. I was awake till 1:57, Kyle, in my room.
I was an Oregon fan until I couldn't stay up late enough to be an Oregon fan.
Yeah, well, I guess I put some money on Utah or Oregon. You're going to stay up till 2 a.m.
Yeah.
For nothing, because Cam Rising couldn't cover. More like Cam falling. We've got somebody had to do it. We've got Clemson coming up for South Carolina, dude. So this is
Huge.
a 2-week run where South Carolina, like everybody loves Tennessee, like they were one of America's teams earlier in the year, but they went down to South Carolina this weekend. Everybody will love beating Clemson this weekend. Sending that youth pastor home.
Oh,
Sending him back to his bowling alley.
why is he so annoying to you?
I don't know, Kyle.
Is it
Maybe
because he
because
runs
he's
out
full
in
of shit.
front of his team down the hill?
Maybe because he's full of shit.
That's the worst part to me.
I know some people might not like me talking about Dabo, but he's just a guy that rubs me
Not
wrong.
even a real name.
And Clemson's coming up for South Carolina. So just please, I want to put South Carolina on America's team's list next week. Please get this win. Take care of Clemson. They could Clemson could be in the playoff. Things could happen. I don't want that. Okay. The Tennessee Titans, America's team, Thursday night, vanquished the Packers. It feels like a lifetime ago, but
They're fabulous.
they're great. I mean, I still don't know if they've beaten a good team.
Well, they took the Chiefs to overtime with Malik Willis. They threw the ball
I know.
1.5 times.
That's why they're
which
one
is
of
like-
America's teams.
It's Vrabel, dude, right? Like
Vrabel's amazing. He's amazing.
they're just afraid of him, so they go play so hard.
Yeah, I'd be afraid of him too. Guy's seen some shit. He was in New England for a long time.
Whenever they show him on the sideline, he's just staring off into space, like plotting his next,
How about Jeff Saturday doing push-ups and shit before the game, getting
Love
on
it.
the Vrabel, the former player pregame workout. All right, so Tennessee Titans. How about America? How about the United States? 1 p.m., 2 p.m. They play Wales.
2 o'clock.
They play Wales. Yeah, they're in the toughest the group of death.
They play Wales in soccer?
Yeah.
Is this underwater?
No, they don't. No. And Wales could play you on the beach. They got blowholes. They could play you anywhere, Kyle. They're mammals. It's a nice fucking learn
Short stints. They got to rotate a lot.
learn the animal kingdom.
Okay, fuck off.
In
All
the
right.
other game in our group, England beat Iran 6-2.
Yeah.
That's very good.
Right
Topical.
for England, yeah.
Okay, and then lastly, American dads. This is our week, guys. Make no mistake about it. Christmas is for everybody else. It's what's the word? When they used to put up my word, propaganda. It's propaganda. It's K Jewelers propaganda. You have to get your wife this shiny thing, or else she's not going to love you. What kind of society are we living in? You got to buy your kids a bunch of expensive toys so they get spoiled even more than they are now and have less of a chance of overcoming obstacles in their life because they got every toy in the Toys R Us doesn't even exist anymore.
Chris, there's something interesting here to be said about kids with a ton of toys.
Can I tell you, though? What is it?
So I've heard recently now they're saying less toys for your kids because the limitless choices that they have to make between the toys gives them anxiety.
Kyle, I'm ahead of the game, dude.
Which is incredible to think about.
I'm ahead of the game. Yeah, and that was the thing. Like, we got a lot of toys. We were lucky, because Dad grew up. He didn't get it. He had a tougher road than us. So he was like backing up the Brinks truck when it came to Christmas early on. And it's funny, we thought, damn, we're getting a lot of toys, but because our dad plays in the NFL or something, all these fucking rich kids out here are getting too many toys.
A lot of toys.
All of them. Too many toys. I tell my wife, I've been telling my wife for years now, they don't need all these toys. Play with
Get 'em a
found
stick.
objects,
Yeah,
dude.
get 'em a stick.
Like kids in the 40s did. Go outside. But the bottom line is, Kyle, as I bring this full circle, this is our holiday, man. This is our holiday. Thanksgiving is a dad holiday. We get to pitch in a little bit. We get to relax. Nobody bothers us. I mean, like, people do inevitably bother us because that always happens. But
3 decent games that day too.
there's going to be, who's playing? It's
Dad's working.
Giants and Cowboys.
Yeah, we got the Bills at Detroit, got Giants at Cowboys, and
Dad must be
Pats
doing
at
halftime of
Vikings.
that game.
Pats and Vikings.
Giants, Cowboys.
All indoor?
Yeah, right.
All indoor games on Thanksgiving again. We're doing this again? I know I probably looked a year ago, but it's here now. Fucking,
it.
it's a shame. You like it?
There's something about the Thanksgiving games that makes me think indoors. We played in Detroit, which was always indoors. It reminded me of, not that I like playing indoors or on turf. I hate it. But it seems normal to me that Thanksgiving games are inside.
It's just such a shame, man. You got this beautiful product. It gets even more beautiful in November. Look at how beautiful Cincinnati, and I mean, even though they wore those white uniforms, Cincinnati and Pittsburgh were last night. Look at how fucked up the grass looked. Look how cold it was. Like New England and the Jets. I talked to McCourty. He said it felt like the teens out there. That should be played in grass. Like that game should be. People should have grass stains all over them, just like the backyard Thanksgiving football games. Remember we used to go in the backyard down there in the field with Jeff.
Oh yeah,
and play a little football.
We used to
back
have
there.
great games.
We had some good games. That's what. Right now, I would probably
Turkey
get hurt
Bowl.
doing that, the Turkey Bowl thing. So I'm actually like looking back at the way some of those dads were playing. They're way ahead of where I am now.
They were tough.
They were tough dads.
Yeah.
But again, like more evidence that this is a dad's holiday, and the game should be played outside. That's a shame. So those are my America's teams, Kyle.
Okay, well, I've got some as well, Chris.
Kansas City guy doesn't know what he's missing.
Yeah, well, sucks to suck. America's teams. Number one, the USA soccer team. We did this already. You said it, so I'm going to scratch it. And I'm going to put the number one America's team as the DFC, the Dallas fucking Cowboys, because what the hell happened to the Vikings yesterday? The Cowboys happened. Micah Parsons happened. Tony Pollard is happening all around us, everywhere, inside of us.
It's happening.
Outside of us. Okay.
You know that
CeeDee Lamb's
is that
catch at
Ron
the
Paul?
end. It's
The Ron
happening.
Paul. It's happening. That's what's going on with the Cowboys right now. They should be talking about it on first take.
Dak making plays, CeeDee Lamb making plays, Tony Pollard making plays. Number three, the University of Southern California. Growing up, they were the standard for collegiate excellence in football. They have the coach, they have the quarterback, Caleb Williams. So much fun to watch. I can't wait to watch him in the league. Nice to see them back in the America's team list.
How much does it suck to suck this year and not next year as an NFL team?
Exactly.
And not get Caleb Williams?
Exactly.
I mean, can you imagine having to – I mean, golly, dude.
He's just a freak. He made some throws that were just uncharacteristic.
Good call, Kyle.
Uncharacteristic of even really good quarterbacks.
Fun to watch that game.
Number three, the Williams Formula One team. They just confirmed an American is to race Formula One in 2023. Logan Sargent of the United States. He's been brought up through the Williams Driver Academy. It's huge for America. I know a lot of people started watching Drive to Survive the last few years, and Formula One became a sexy spectacle for the red, white,
Much
and blue
like
folks.
crypto.
Same
guys.
but
Same
this
guys.
has staying power.
That's all the crypto guys have now is Formula One.
This has staying power, so I appreciate that. Number four, the New England Patriots special teams.
Nice.
You know, they're patriotic. They're a team.
That's
So
true.
they're America's team.
They drafted the guy in the third round, that returner,
I love to see that.
just to do this.
And number five is the Vanderbilt Commodores.
Yes, Kyle.
They beat the Florida Gators. It's their second win in the SEC in a row, and they lost, I think it's 26 SEC matchups before that. So congratulations to all the teams on our America's list. And
Kyle, they play Tennessee next week. This could be
big.
This could be like
in a
without
row.
Hendon Hooker, God rest his
Milton will
ACL.
start. Yep.
Seriously, I'm not even being funny. I don't know. That's
Get
how
back. Get
I
back.
feel like when somebody tears their ACL, there has to be a better way to say it as players, like condolences or something, because it's a big deal when you tear your ACL, especially late in the season like this when you're getting ready to be an NFL player. That's just terrible.
You're rising
man.
that list every week. You seem to be rising that prospect list.
I felt so bad for that kid.
It sucks, man, but that's the nature of the game, bro.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
nature
it
of
is.
the game.
We have to give a shout out to Wan'Dale Robinson. It was just announced he tore his ACL.
God rest his ACL.
That slit film turf at MetLife, Another one. Imagine being the Jets and being like, how much money does it cost us to have this turf?
Imagine being an owner who doesn't want to pay for fucking grass. And it's like, you see what happened to Hendon Hooker down there? That was grass. Okay.
I fucking hate you, Chris.
That's probably
the way you just did that. That was grass.
Okay. Grass is bad.
Maybe they need turf down there.
Maybe they need more turf. Maybe that's what's wrong with these young players these days.
That's the thing I hate, Chris. People say that turf and grass have the same amount of ACL injuries, same amount of ankle sprains.
No one says that anymore.
No, this is the independent study that they did. But the one thing you can't quantify,
what independence?
You can't quantify, and I'll get the information.
Yeah, get your bibliography
you can't quantify soreness, though.
No, you can't.
Yeah,
you can't. And just the beauty of it, it's a better viewing experience. Okay. It's safer, aesthetic. The whole thing. So sorry, trying to find the guy's name from Kansas City.
Please,
can't find it.
Is he verified? Did he buy his account?
Probably. Can you imagine doing that?
I'm confused.
Couldn't be me. I'm not confused. See, Kyle, I occupy the very small part of the graph. Matt, can you explain it?
Yeah, there's a Venn diagram of people who hate Elon and also hate Twitter. But most people hate Elon and love Twitter.
Yeah.
You're outside of it because you hate Elon and you hate Twitter.
Yeah, a lot of people are conflicted because they hate Elon. And they're like, yeah, I want him to fail, but I'm kind of making a living on Twitter. And I totally get it. Some people are making a living on Twitter. That's what I've realized over the last couple days. And I feel terrible about those people. But my mental health, what about my mental health, right?
Wait, there's people that are making a living on Twitter that are bitching about Twitter?
No, they want, because people don't like Elon, right? And yeah, objectively, he's a fucking...
Just like block him out of your mind.
That's hard, man. He might... I don't know.
What do they say about cyberbullying? Close the computer?
Yeah, I don't know if it's as simple. I'd like him to cyberbully my account into...
I just want a Cybertruck.
Into not existing anymore because I hate the website. Okay. All right, so let's get on to foosball, Kyle.
That was good, though, without making.
What? Okay. His face just looks so terrified. Why are you so scared of Slender Man? He's like, come in here and fucking...
He's got that big brain and that on top of that skinny neck, and sometimes I wonder what it's plotting.
Always wonder what it's plotting. Dude, we miss Macon. I hope he comes back soon with
headphones
with an offer
and a vest on.
With an offer in hand. Okay. And if the people who are thinking about buying our house are listening, it's really lovely living there. It really is. You know, the sunrises are beautiful. They really are. Right out my bedroom window. I thought on
stealing that house many a time.
Yeah, Kyle likes the house. You should do it. You really should. If you're in the car, driving home, thinking about the house, do it. Please, Kyle, with this woe is me stuff.
I quite literally...
America is not sorry, Kyle. Let's talk about Chiefs Kingdom. You had to have just... I mean, I just want to say this. I want to put this out there in the atmosphere. Coolest quarterback... receiver, tight end duo of all time
ever.
I'm watching them after the game doing that post-game interview, and you know, I looked back and you know, like there's Brady and Gronk, but that felt more like father son, like delinquent son. You know, it felt cute because you knew it, like they were so juxtaposed to each other in personality and everything. And it worked really well. They love each other. They're one of the most iconic duos of all time. I still think because of the blocking, Gronk is the best tight end of all time. As I'm watching Travis last night, though, it's hard to say that for sure.
Like, what's the but?
But, you know, like people do ignore the blocking thing. It's like football's not blocking anymore.
Travis blocks.
Not like chips. Gronk, dude.
He helps in the protection.
We don't need to turn this into a Travis doesn't block thing.
He doesn't run block like Rob. But
he knows that. He'd be the first to tell you that Gronk is a tackle.
I'm just getting out in the universe so I don't seem crazy.
But he also might think he's the best tight end of all time. And I wouldn't think it was an asinine thing to think because... or Tony Gonzalez, one of these guys. But just the way they were up there doing that interview, it's just... They feed off each other so much. There's so much nonverbal communication. Half of what they do is nonverbal. They just can probably finish each other's sentences, man. It's like, and they're fucking cool. They're fun, and the killer instinct that Patrick Mahomes has, you've talked about it, you played there, and I've watched it from a distance. There is nobody like him in pro sports right now. There's nobody like him in pro sports. Who else, Kyle?
Nobody.
I was thinking about a basketball player or something.
I was gonna say Giannis until he.
The last guy I could think of.
Ain't nobody.
The last guy I could think of was Kobe, and
Yep,
the last
exactly.
teammate I could. The last combination of teammates I thought of was Kobe and Shaq, if they got along really well.
Yeah,
And that's Patrick and Travis.
but Patrick is just such a killer, man. He's such a killer.
When he gets the ball back, and they have an opportunity to go down and take the lead, me, along with everybody else in the world, goes, here we fucking go, baby. Like, get your popcorn out. They're about to go down the field and do this shit again.
Tragically, Kyle, I'd given out the Chargers +7. That felt like free money because those games are great.
So you bet against the...
So I did, and I won money. But then I had put like a unit on a parlay between the under and Chargers money line, which would have hit really big too.
I'd have to see this in like picture form.
And so I was kind of like, I was watching. Basically, what it means, I won a lot of money. I could have won a lot of money. And I'm watching the last drive, and I'm like, you know what? Fuck my redacted amount of money. Like, I want to watch greatness. Like, I'm just gonna sit back here and enjoy Patrick Mahomes, because you can turn on TV and watch a lot of football on Sunday. You can watch a lot of sports. You can get League Pass. You watch the NBA all week. Like, you will not see anything like that. This game, if I was somebody who could make things happen in the NFL, and Spanos couldn't or wouldn't pay Justin Herbert for some unforeseen reason, because they're kind of stingy with the cash there, but they're going to pay him. If they couldn't, I would subsidize paying Justin Herbert to keep him in this division with Patrick Mahomes, because this is sports, man.
It's the best TV.
It's just sports. I mean, I felt like a kid watching sports.
And after Patrick throws that touchdown at the end, and Travis goes in for the third time. And by the way, shout out to Derwin James, because
incredible player.
In the same light that we're talking about Justin Herbert against Patrick Mahomes, watching the secondary and the second level of that defense go against Travis Kelce for the last few years has been a lot of fun. And Derwin James is like the ultimate competitor. Travis gave him a huge underneath route at the end to get naked across the middle.
The little mesh route.
And Derwin was a shoelace away from
the robber, who was the robber kind of was helping to the other side, and then before he realized that he couldn't get over there, it was just...
It's a heavyweight fight, though. And you look at the beginning of the game, and Travis was helping with chips on the edge with the right tackle and wasn't able to get his head around early, and Patrick hits him in the back of the neck. Travis is frustrated.
He did hit him in the back of the neck.
You watch a lot of these guys around the league. If they get frustrated early, they tend to stay frustrated in a game. Travis understands it with Patrick under center and Andy at the coaching spot, that he's going to have more opportunities, and he makes the most of them. And when he's waltzing into the end zone, dancing into the end zone, I know how much of a competitor he is.
He's so competitive.
And how much he hates that secondary. And he even goes on his pod, and he's really nice about Derwin James suplexing him onto the ground.
Yep.
But fucking Sunday night, Travis is like, hold my jockstrap for a second.
It's funny, not to get all cliche brothers thing, but like, I know why they're very competitive, Kelce and Kelce, the law firm. But those two, like, hearing stories about them kind of growing up and like the way they were, I mean, like, iron sharpens iron. And then, to get out there on the field, like Jason's really competitive in his own way, and then like Travis is really competitive in his own way. Like, the only way you get that way, when I watched him last night after the game, I saw a kid at like an AAU tournament. Like, just a fucking kid out there grinding in Cleveland or Cleveland Heights or wherever. He's probably never changed. He's always been that competitive. And he's just, him and Patrick are the ultimate competitors. And when you put them together, it's amazing, especially because there weren't a lot of other guys to throw to. Tony left the game late with a hamstring. That's a worry. I mean, last week he faked the hamstring injury, and then this week he actually hurt his hamstring. And he's going to make a huge difference for them, but he's got to be healthy.
Juju out, Mecole on IR.
But he's hitting Fortson. I mean, like, that throw to Fortson was just, there were a few throws last night. Justin Herbert made a few throws that, you gawk at. Last week he made a few throws that you gawk at. I feel like he's getting healthy again. I feel bad for him, because people measure him based on the outcome of that game. I mean, with under 3 minutes to go, you go down and you get a score like maybe a little too quick.
Too quick.
But that's, you did your job, and then you get the ball back with 30 seconds to go and you throw a pick. But that ball that Mahomes threw to Fortson was just incredible. I mean, I gasped at a few of these.
Fortson's so much bigger than you think, too.
Well, he's like big guy, small target. He put it on his ear hole, dude.
Yeah, he's like a big basketball guy.
Yeah.
You feel comfortable throwing to him. At the end of the game, in the 2-minute, when Justin Herbert's trying to get down the field, Chris Jones coming after him.
Yep.
I mean,
that guy played great.
Chris Jones is a guy that understands that you can't throw your fastball every pitch, and that there's going to be certain counts where you say, this is my fastball pitch, and he wins with them. Late in games, he sets guys up. You know, you think you haven't figured out, but really he's figuring you out.
And that's really funny. When I was young, and obviously not making a comparison to Chris Jones, but just as a rusher, I was playing a guy named Wayne Gandy, who was a KG tackle for the Cardinals, and I beat him with a sack late in the game. And after the game, he came up to me and was like, "This is my second year," or something like that. He was like, "Dude, you're gonna be good, man. Like, just work on this for me," because he was retiring. You know, when you retire and you give everybody all the intel. He was like, "Set your moves up." He's like, you know, spend the game. You can lose some rushes. Like, try to lose a couple rushes and like lull people to sleep, and then pick your spot and win the rush in the big moment.
It's like Babe Ruth led home runs and strikeouts, right?
You know, which is a skill, because a lot of guys are like, I'm just going to go. I'm going to go, which I made a mistake of just going. But like setting your rush up for that big moment and reaching into the bag for that one move you haven't used yet, or varying your tempo, you know, which sometimes great players do. And think they're loafing, but they're just taking a play off. They're resting here.
And then they catch you off guard.
They're like, holy shit, he is going fast.
And then they get Willie Gay, added pressure from the second level. Frank Clark, coordinated rush outside. You know, he hit Justin Herbert almost immediately as the ball reached him on the snap. These are the things that Spags likes to dial up to get people. You know, you get out there in this 2-minute and you think, okay, no picks, no sacks. All right, let's go. We're going to do this protection. We get out there and then boom, Willie Gay's in your lap.
Yep. No question.
It throws off your whole 2-minute.
The 4th and inches that Staley punted on late in the third. I don't know if anybody else saw that.
And they had it inside the 10 for the Chiefs.
No, it was, they were on there. There was third quarter. I think it was 40-yard line and 4th and inches and Staley punts.
Good for him.
Which is a big contrast from last year.
Hey, good for him.
Kyle, yeah, like I hate that, because at that point you're up 1 score. You could make it a 2-score game. You're at almost midfield. You can't pick up an inch.
And you've got the biggest freak at quarterback other than Josh Allen.
Just sneak him, do something. Like
20-16 Chargers, 4th and 1 at the Chargers 34.
How do you think 27-16 feels going into the fourth quarter?
Ooh, 9 points sucks.
So I'm sure there's some explanation for why not, but like when you're Mr. Aggressive guy, Mr. like we do the same thing every play, you know, we're faceless opponent type thing. Like, you have to fucking pick that up.
How much fun is it to watch Austin Eckler?
It's fun, man. He's so strong. You can tell. Yeah, you see him in the weight room doing all his crazy exercises, but when he's on the field, they really do translate, because he's got these weird angles of leg drive that he's dragging people.
The Nick Bolton goal line tackle? Is that the one you're thinking of?
I'm thinking of that. I'm thinking of just a lot of the plays where guys, he'll drag people and he'll be in these awkward one-legged situations, and his balance is great. He's just a very unique player. I haven't seen – there's not a bunch of Austin Ecklers running around. And I don't remember a lot of – I wonder who if we went back, like who he would remind you of. Like, you know, so just a great game. I hope we see these games for years to come between these two quarterbacks. The NFL, man – it's good they've got a few years here with really good quarterback classes coming out, and just knowing that you got these two guys in the bank. You know, you have Tua playing really well in Miami. You have
Taylor Heineke.
Heineke. You have Josh Allen, obviously, to me, is in that elite class of quarterbacks. You need this matchup if you're the NFL so badly. You need to protect this matchup, because this is as good as football gets.
And I remember last year people were saying they'd rather have Joe Burrow than Patrick Mahomes. And I'm like, hold on a second.
Well, who said that?
A lot of people were saying that last year.
A lot of people said Joe Burrow over Herbert.
I'd have to find the quotes.
And I'd still take Herbert over Burrow, but by a hair, because they're both very different and in what they bring to the table.
And I know the Bengals won. I know it was awesome division rivalry and everything. We're not talking about that game right now.
Yeah,
but
we'll get there.
Mahomes, pieces missing on the road.
Yep.
It's time and time again. Fourth quarter Mahomes.
Yep. Okay, Dallas, they were dominant, man. You know, like the Chiefs are the best team in the AFC. You just asked me, are the Dallas Cowboys the best team in the NFC? I don't want to be overreactive, right? Because they just lost to the Packers. And, yeah, like the Vikings, we'll get into that. Let me start with this. Is Minnesota actually good? Okay, like this is a big roller coaster of public opinion. As big of a roller coaster within a calendar week that I've seen in recent memory, like, holy shit, they just went up and beat the Bills. Like, that was an incredible football game. Game of the year, the whole thing. They're 8-1. We were worried about their point differential. We were worried about who they played, worried about some of these close games. All their games have been one-score games, I think, save for one in their wins. And their 2 losses have been enormous blowouts. So you know how they get to a negative 2-point differential. I think there have been 146, I don't remember what the number was, 146 teams in the history of the NFL that were 8-1 or 8-2, because that's what they are now. And only one has ever had a negative point differential. That is the 2022 Minnesota Vikings. So I'm not saying they're not good, because you have to win close games to be good, and they've won a lot of close games. But the biggest problem with their 2 blowout losses, and this is what I will hold against them going to the playoffs, is they got blown out by the best 2 teams in the NFC. So the very teams that you're going to have to beat to get in the dance beat you 40-3 and 24-7.
Yep. And they're a team, to your point, they win close games, and I think going into this game yesterday, they were number 2 in the NFL in fourth quarter scoring.
Yep.
They don't turn the ball over much. They take the ball away a lot. None of that stuff showed up yesterday. Missed opportunities earlier. 6 minutes left in the first quarter. You drive down the field methodically. You have your guy Hawkinson open. He drops it. They would have doubled their points total in the game with that touchdown alone. It was a good ball from Kirk back left of the end zone. Just TJ knows he's got to come down with that. He'll be the first to tell you.
He would be the first to tell you, Kyle.
Next play they call his number again, Kirk Sales one. So it's just like things in conjunction with each other. And then I want to talk about Tony Pollard. Obviously Zeke was out there as well, and in the red zone he was used. But Pollard, man, the unique combination of patience and smoothness. Is smoothness a word? Being smooth behind the line of scrimmage. He leads the league in yards per carry and yards after contact, is what Tony Romo said yesterday. The speed at which he hits the line of scrimmage is the key determining factor.
That's a problem.
It's like when a
for
back gets to speed before he hits the line of scrimmage, it's a tough tackle to make with one arm for a D lineman.
Yeah.
And it's a tough fit for somebody to make on the second
No
level.
question. And a lot of it, I saw something like he had 100 yards over expectation or something yesterday. Like it wasn't just, hey, big holes. And I get the Zeke thing. Like Zeke has been a staple for a long time in Dallas. And honestly, if they go on a run, he's not only, he deserves to be the guy down at the goal line and that sort of thing, get the touchdowns. I know, but for Jerry and for the Cowboys faithful, that he's like a deity too. And, you know, he's been a great player for a number of years.
Well-deserved.
You know, like he's got to – if you go on a run, it's just good to have Zeke included. And his role might be different than it was in his prime. But this is how it goes sometimes. Like players, their primes don't match up with when the team, makes that big run. So it'll be interesting to see how he's used down the stretch. He's getting the touchdowns now. But this guy, he's breathed a lot of life into them. And – you know, I look at the Cowboys, and the first thing I think about, and Dak was awesome. You saw the throw to CeeDee Lamb. That was supposedly the furthest throw out of bounds that anybody caught, and it had to be out of bounds. It was a beautiful throw. It was a beautiful catch. And you think about the 40 points and the efficiency and everything, and you think, holy shit, was there really a time where we were talking about Cooper Rush? No offense to the gentleman, but you know, this offense.
Hey, he did great.
He did great. He did what he was supposed to do.
But they're a great team.
They're a great team. And you know, I think about the offense and all that. We talked about Tony Pollard, but it is the heartbeat of this team is the defense. And it's Micah Parsons with 10 pressures. It's Tank Lawrence, who's just a total dog. He's underrated. Parsons got after it early. I think 6 sacks, 9 knockdowns their first 23 plays. Like,
Armstrong had a speed to power on Darisaw that ended up getting him out of the game. And we know Darisaw had some concussion stuff last week, right, Reed? Yep. And then with it again in a short week, O'Connell said he's definitely not playing.
Because it's Thursday. Yeah, they're playing Thursday. And he might not play a lot the rest of the year, though. That's the thing I worry about.
Scary.
With you know what I mean? And it's scary for the Vikings, too.
Scary for the Vikings. And I wrote, number 64, Blake Brandel filled in, second year from Oregon State. He's a Beaver. He's filling in for an all-pro potential guy at left tackle. We saw him false start with Micah over him. We saw him overset. He gave up a sack. But he needs to understand the road doesn't get any harder than playing Micah Parsons.
Boy, that is a baptism. That's, yeah.
You've played the best. Now you got a lot of ball ahead of you. Keep your head up. The shit will slow down for you. I know you're in your second year.
But next week, you get Judon, you get Uche, you get all the exotic
Judon's a different
stuff.
beast, but if you show up to fight the heavyweight fight, you can do it. When you show up to fight Micah Parsons, you don't know if you'll lay a hand on him.
There's no comparison, right? Like, we talk about DPOY, we talk about, stats. There's other guys that are up there around Micah Parsons, but like Micah Parsons is scary. He's just scary. There's no... they run a scheme there, but it's not a scheme thing when he wins rushes. I mean, like this guy, when he took the up and under on this poor kid for his second sack, because the first one, as you pointed out, was not on Darisaw. I mean,
Darisaw made a great reaction on the double move, and then Micah went over the top.
Good hands,
Kirk
staying
was flush,
alive,
but didn't move forward.
Yep. So it was 9-10 yards. But the whole thing is, seeing him make that inside move, like he's a technician. He sinks that rip. He leans into it. He uses the rip to pull his hips around. Just like really good rushers, they got great inside moves, and the inside moves turn into their outside moves. And by that, I mean there's no difference in how their hip gets around at the top of the rush is 7 yards, and the way it gets around on an inside rush where you're getting washed down. And if you saw that rush in slow motion, it's art, man. Like his steps, he bounds into the inside move, he sinks the rip, he pulls his hips around so fucking fast, man.
It's like water.
It's technique, it's talent, this kid's incredible. So, Dallas's ceiling is pretty high. We'll find out Christmas. Guess the fucking Nielsen rating on that game. Eagles, Cowboys, like a game or two separated. I think they might break the meter, dude. When's the last time the Eagles and the Cowboys were this good? I mean, maybe when I was playing, but I don't think so because I think the Cowboys were down the year we won the Super Bowl in Philly. So I don't know how.
I don't know if they ever have been.
TVs might break.
One funny thing from this game, by the way, it was 37 points with 8 minutes remaining in the third quarter for the Cowboys, which is unbelievable. My other gripe is take your key starters out, Coach McCarthy. You've got these guys in there. Micah Parsons went to the tent. He came back out. Yeah. And he's playing still in the game you're winning by 40 points, 37 points. Dante Fowler, another guy that got home.
Yeah, Parsons. Here's the thing about the Parsons thing, Kyle, because I agree with you. I mean, on the surface, me and Reed were sitting there. We're like, what the fuck is he still doing in the game? But I was going to say, you know how this is, but you weren't a rusher. When rushers, when we get up, like this
you
is
want
how,
to rush.
Bro, Dan Quinn's like, I want my guy winning DPOY.
Yeah, but if I'm Mike McCarthy, I'm saying get the fuck out of the game.
And that's true. But if
you're going to love me for it.
And if I'm Micah Parsons, I'm like, you fucking serious?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mike, you're serious.
Micah, you wanted to wear black jerseys last week. Go see that.
Mike, I could win DPOY. Come on, man. This is where, how do I get buckets if not up 35 points?
After that, so it's 20-3 at the half.
Yeah.
After the half, the Vikings come out. The secondary looked more aggressive. Patrick Peterson with a TFL, you know what I'm saying? Like Harrison Smith flying downhill. Mm-hmm. And then you get a third, I think it was a third down. Zadarius moves inside over Zach Martin. And I'm a CBS guy, so I'll give Tony some credit here, Tony Romo. He kind of pokes fun at the move of Zadarius lining up inside in a 2-point. He said, find a matchup you like. But that's like Zach Martin. I don't know, buddy. I laughed so hard. And then he got stoned and Tony Pollard
I saw the play. And Zadarius is just a man-child, dude.
He's a monster.
He's a beast, dude. And he really does make a lot of hay in there in the B gap. But
pick the other B gap.
But Zach Martin's just boring good, man.
He's so boring.
It's just boring.
Okay, that's what I got.
Okay, so on the other side of the NFC, Philly kind of survives. And I don't want to be overreactive. Of course I don't. Dallas looks incredible. Philly looks human. I don't want to be overreactive in any direction because right now you're going to say, the Colts are a new team, the whole thing.
The Colts are who we thought they were before they became who we thought they were.
Exactly. The Colts are some version of the hope we had for them in the first 5 weeks of the season. They beat the Chiefs 2017 now.
In the Sky game.
So it's not like the Colts defense has not played great before. It's not like the Colts are not a tough football team. Jeff Saturday obviously can coach just fine. He can delegate just fine. He can manage the game just fine. He can motivate just fine. These guys are motivated, right?
And I hope everybody is over that and has accepted that.
Well, I think everybody's accepted that, Kyle, but I hope you've accepted, and your ilk, you're bussing with the boys, and any of those type of people.
What does ilk mean?
The people in your corner, the people that are of your kind on this argument, they're on your side on this argument, which I think is just overreacting to a few monologues. Like overreacting to Joe Thomas's monologue, overreacting to because
I like Joe Thomas's monologue.
So so pick one. You hope everybody's over it, but
I hope everybody's over it and will allow Jeff Saturday to be a coach.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is it's just become the most silly conversation where, like people point out something that's objectively the truest thing I've ever heard. It's like this guy cut the line. There's a bunch of coaches that coached a long time that, many of them former players that don't get an opportunity. And that kind of sucks. And it does make a mockery of the process, but maybe the process sucks as well.
Make better friends with your owner.
Yeah, I mean,
tell me I'm wrong.
You're wrong. Nothing has been
Jeff
proven.
Saturday. But he needed a stand-in at the end of the year, like somebody that he knew wasn't going to burn the thing down.
The truth lies somewhere in between. Yeah. Okay, so like number one, the process was fucked up. Number two, people think it's maybe harder than it is to step in and delegate and be a head coach. And
also there's a lot of staff members.
There's a ton of staff members that are coaching. There's other people that can help him. And they've strung together 2 weeks where, all right, here's the deal. They beat the Raiders.
Great job.
And they played with the Eagles. Yes. And you know what? The Eagles looked sloppy. The Eagles, first drive, you come out, you give up points to Indy. That's the first time all year they scored. And then the first touchdown since Christmas 2021 for them in an opening drive. I mean, you had Jonathan Taylor going off early. They made Bradbury tackle. He wouldn't. Long run. They get in the end zone. So you're down 7-0, and then I'm seeing a 1st and 35. The Eagles have their first and 35. That. You're just like, hey, shit is going wrong today. I've seen a couple
of first screens.
I've seen a couple of 1st and 35s this year. They're never good. I don't think teams run a stat. Reed, I'm not serious, but like. 1st and 35, like teams, what are their records if they see 1st and 35 in a game? Because that's usually a sign. That's a canary in the coal mine. Like things are not good for that team today. And so you follow that up. Jalen Hurts gets sacked out of field goal range. It was just an abhorrent situation for them. And then 2 turnovers in the second half, at least, unless I'm missing one. There was a point here, and the defense really, to me, is the lead, right? You bring in Sue, you bring in Joseph, who we know, people made a big deal about the Robert Quinn thing. I made a big deal about the Robert Quinn thing. People asked me, some fan, I think it was a gotcha, because this guy was just in a bad mood yesterday, but somebody tweeted at me, well, why isn't Robert Quinn getting any pressure? Well, Matt Ryan got the ball out in 2.5 seconds. That would make him 3rd fastest on the day, and Robert Quinn got 10 snaps. Okay, so like, watch the fucking game. Do the math, okay? And just be happy the fact that the defense stepped up in every way they could have. I mean, there were multiple chances for this game to go really south. I'll give you 2 of them. You're down 13-3, 4th and 10 at midfield in the 3rd quarter. You've got the ball. Jalen Hurts and Sirianni, they roll the dice. They go for it. You turn the ball over on down. So you're giving them the ball down 2 scores. It could be 3 scores very shortly here in a game where you haven't been able to get anything going. And who splits a sack to force a punt? Sue and Joseph. Okay, so like you immediate returns on this investment, right? Not to mention, like, the first play of the game, Joseph's in there stonewalling people, making a tackle. These guys were really good. And as a sidebar, after the first 15 minutes, I think Jonathan Taylor went 12 attempts for 20 yards and a fumble loss. So, like, they were busting his ass after the beginning of that ball game. That was one situation. They shut the door and said, hey, we're not going down fucking 20-3 here on the road. The other one was not soon after. It's 13-3 at midfield, and Fletcher Cox forces a hold. You get Milton, the young kid from Louisiana Tech, with a sack, and they miss a field goal. Now, like, listen, you might say they missed a field goal either way. It was only 2-3 yard sack, but that ball, at the end of that field goal is just wide. So all these things, I'm trying to give props to these guys inside. The defense was huge. You talk about sacks, man. There was a 3rd and 5 at the end of that ball game where the Eagles there's a chance that they go down in this game, right? Or even bigger. It was 13-10, I think, at this point. So if they go down 20-10, this ball game's over. Essentially, it was under a few minutes left to go in the game. Paris Campbell, long completion down inside the 5, and the defense stands up. And why does it stand up on 3rd and 5? By the way, on 2nd down, Brandon Graham almost has a strip sack if the tight end inexplicably isn't flailing behind Matt Ryan. I mean, like, this is one of those weird plays where BG wins on 2nd down. He's about to tomahawk the ball out, and
I can picture it in my head.
And the tight end just like falls in front of him. He's like, "Fuck, man!" He had his chance in a few minutes, but the guy that stepped up so big for the Eagles, man. And I got off the couch on this was a Chris off the couch moment. It was Hassan Reddick on 3rd and 5, and what a gorgeous fucking rush. And a beautiful rush in the red zone where he's a speed rusher, right? He's not just running up the field. Matt Ryan ran 17 miles an hour last week.
Flying Ryan.
You got to watch out for this motherfucker now. So he's not flying up the field. He goes to power. He feels this rookie. They got a rookie left tackle in there. He feels his weight, and he just turns him and counters inside for the biggest sack of the game so far. And they had a few of them. So that was a huge one. And then 3rd and 9 at the 40, under a minute to go. I mean, the field goal wins the game for them because it went 16-3 instead of 23, or 16-10 instead of 20-10. BG with the sack just runs the fucking tackle over, dude. And they were picking on this rookie here. But just a beautiful, beautiful day if you're a fan of D-line play in Philly. That rotation's deep. They're awesome.
And if they can all win.
Yeah. Yeah,
with the exception of Limbaugh, who can win.
He can win. He won,
but he's not an edge rush. Yeah. He's not going to rush your edges inside. He will push the fucking pocket, and other people.
But did you see him on that sack? Who's the center for the damn Colts?
No, I didn't see it.
He's on the sack that he split with Sue. Is it Ryan Kelly, the center? Man, watch the way, if you can pull it up in the next few seconds, but. The way Linval Joseph, Ryan Kelly's like, okay, I'm anchoring. Oh, my legs fell off. It's like hop. Oh my God, now I'm on my knees.
Okay, I'll explain blocking Linval Joseph in the past. It's like you've seen those videos where the kids hop out of their car while it's moving at 2 miles an hour, and they do a TikTok dance. And then they try to go back in the car, and they can't get in, so they try to stop their car. It's rolling at them slowly.
Yes.
And it's like, oh, I got it. And then it's like, oh, he's getting a little bit faster. It's getting faster.
Dude, honestly, it happened to me recently. I was cleaning out my truck, and it was in drive, and I didn't realize there was in neutral or something. And I tried to get out of that motherfucker, and it was moving. I was like, damn, this thing's heavy.
That's Linval.
That's Linval Joseph. Look at this. Look at this, Kyle.
Right back here.
Look at this shit.
Yeah, I didn't see this
went
one.
Down to his
Look at
knees.
this shit. I mean, he's not even getting off the ball. Oh. But it's just the strength that Ryan Kelly's like,
he folded him like a taco. Watch it.
Oh my God, there's just so much. And Sue was winning his rush at the 3. So, I mean, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful job by the defense. They deserve the game ball. That D-line deserves the game ball in this game. And then the O-line was dominant. I just want to say this. They gave up a couple sacks. One of the sacks was Yannick Ngakoue on a strip sack in the 3rd quarter. First play, they're trying to go deep. And Miles Sanders is the one blocking him. So, the couple guys had sacks, but they gave up one hurry on the day outside of those plays. There were plays, man, that were so important, like the touchdown to Quez, totally clean pocket. And then I want you to think about this one, Eagles fans. You're under 2 minutes. You're trying to win this ball game. The biggest play on that decisive drive was the wheel route to Miles Sanders. You get a linebacker in coverage. 5 seconds is how long Jalen Hurts had. 5 seconds. Totally clean pocket. No one wins for 5 seconds.
You can melt butter in the microwave in 5 seconds.
Hell yeah, I might do that when I get home. It's delicious.
For science.
So, Jalen Hurts just back there baking a cake. He could have had 7 seconds. This O-line deserves a lot of credit. These guys were trying to run a lot of stunts up front. Indy was, and just they weren't getting home. Really nice job by that front. And a beautiful low red touchdown. I have never seen a less contested money down in an NFL ball game. 3rd and 5 in the red zone or whatever it was. It was goal to go. And the Red Sea parted, man. It was insane. It looked like they were running some sort of a quarterback power or counter or something. And then, he just decided to go right up the middle, and there was nobody there. So, gutsy call and executed to perfection by both teams. Somebody asked me if there were media members who, in the spirit of Jeff Saturday, like podcasters or analysts that could become head coaches. I'll give you a second to think about that. But for me, it's Darius Butler, man. I think Darius Butler does a great job. Yeah. I think Darius Butler is really, really smart. And honestly, I could see him on a sideline coaching. Like
Devin McCourty.
Devin McCourty's still playing.
But he did media with me last week on his bye week.
That's, nice loophole. And it's fucked up of you to leapfrog his brother, Jason.
But Jason's already in it, and he's so good at it, he should stay in it.
Okay,
I
got
think
it.
that Devin is such a lifelong Patriot that he
should be a coach.
Football.
He's got a real football coach voice, Devin
I asked
McCourty.
him some questions last week, and he answered, and I was like, Bill Belichick is talking to me.
My guy, Dev, would be the first to tell you he's got to catch that pick.
He was like...
Yesterday. It hit him right in the chest. It looked like me out there.
What a guy he is.
In zone coverage against the Houston Texans in primetime in New England. They dropped me. Ball hit me in the dick. Not hard to do, Kyle, but it's a joke.
I get it.
Okay. So
I've never been hit in the dick with a ball.
This shit didn't hurt that bad. But yeah, it was embarrassing more than anything. That's how Devin looked yesterday, but it hit him right in the chest.
It happens.
Yeah, it happens. He was like, yeah, this guy will throw me another one. And he threw them other ones. But Zach Wilson is going to be...
a lot to digest there.
Okay, so this is the last really big game yesterday, at least in my opinion, as big as a 3-3 ball game could be, going deep into the fourth quarter. I mean, I was watching Good Morning Football this week, and Jamie Erdahl, who's in there now for Kay Adams. She left the show this year. Jamie does a great job. Jamie, she was appealing to young Jets fans. She was like, listen, I know there's all this bad juju around this matchup. I know it's like 14-16 straight, but like, do this for the young kid in the Garrett Wilson jersey. Like, he doesn't know. She doesn't know.
The kid who gets ice cream after the win.
Yeah, the kid doesn't know. The only thing a kid who's 9 years old knows is the Saleh-led Jets, right? Like, in some stories about Mark Sanchez. We don't have to. The whole thing doesn't have to weigh. But these poor kids are going to remember that this is they're never going to get over this. This is the beginning. The cycle is beginning again for Jets fans. Like these poor kids, they had to watch that game end the way it ended. And Jamie Erdahl said, like, yeah, do it for the kids. Like, I hope not. I hope the kids weren't watching this.
And the thing that sucks is, yeah, the Patriots won. They made a huge play at the end of the game, but the Jets are losing games. Like Zach Wilson is not doing even the basic things, check downs properly. He's not hitting his guys, giving yourself an opportunity. When things are taken away downfield, some of the greatest quarterbacks that have ever played succeed in check downs. You look at Tom Brady, he's making a living on check downs.
Wow.
Seriously.
I mean, he's pretty good.
He's great
underneath.
down the field.
Yes.
But when they put the entirety of the defense back there, he doesn't have a hubris that stands in the way of him checking the ball
and
down.
He's pinpoint accurate there. And Zach Wilson, I think we can talk about the field all we want.
Like off the field is
the number one thing, the easiest thing to do after you have a bad game or your team has a bad game is stand tall at the podium and say, my bad. Like in a football facility, my bad doesn't work because, people are like, we know.
Yeah, we saw it.
We saw it. Like, you don't need to tell us, which is the most fucked up thing. But when you're talking to fans and you are also talking to your teammates, because They watch.
100%.
They have the internet too. There are guys probably standing, was that at the podium or at his locker, but there's guys probably right off camera. There's people in that room.
100%.
You are the face of an organization, man. And for you to get up there after that game, and I went back and watched every throw just to make sure that, before I killed him this morning, that I wasn't going to kill him for no reason. I know it was cold. I know it was windy. But like you said,
it's windier at BYU.
There was a ball. Well, it was windy for Mac Jones too, and I know his shot chart looked like a bunch of layups. But when you're throwing the ball in the flat to Mims in the third or fourth quarter, there was a moment, and he sailed it over his head. It was a second ball in the flat. I remember that day that he just missed on, and Mims, they cut the camera away a little quick, but Mims was like, "Come on, man." There was a Garrett Wilson play where he didn't get targeted. He's like, come on, man. Like, when you start to see that palms up thing.
Palms up.
When you start seeing palms up, it's not good. And, I know that people are going to say we're going to stick together and that sort of thing. But, like, when Garrett Wilson's the one, and he's a rookie, that talks like a man after the game and says, like, this shit is unacceptable. We need to fix it. Right. This is a 6-3 ball club or 6-4. If you'd have told me the Jets were 6-4, and after a game, the locker room would look like that to begin the season, you told me that, I'd have said there's only one reason it's like that. It's because of the quarterback.
It's not.
It's because of the quarterback, according to Zach Wilson. It's not about the quarterback. But when they ask you, they give you an opportunity to take ownership, and you just say no.
An immediate no.
There's no context around it. Early in the week, you're being a wise guy. You're joking about like you guys didn't. Why didn't you get a head coaching gig or something to the media and like that sort of thing? That's the type of shit you do when you're doing a victory lap.
He seems really immature. He seems like he's got a child mind. Honestly, like even from when he got drafted and the guys were throwing up their sets and he was just sitting there like. Do you remember the picture, Chris?
Yes. You thinking he should have threw his set up too?
No, I just think that it shows that like he does like.
Cougar Slayers.
Something. Come up with something funny. I don't know.
No, I don't think that's fair. But I think
that's a back pocket.
I think you're taking kill Zach Wilson.
I will say that you don't.
Heart.
I would say reading the room is as important in being a teammate as performing on the field.
Emotional intelligence, and accountability.
One thing we were taught as players is after a loss, you say why I affected that poorly, what I messed up on. And after a win, you say we did this really well. And that's just a simple rule to live by.
Here's the deal, dude. I went back and watched everything. I watched it twice because, like the fucked up shit was, and people saw this clip if you follow us on Twitter, poor Scott, resident Jets fan, had to leave the building, like legitimately walked off. I heard his footsteps like all the way down all the stairs, and I heard the door shut. Like I think he had to walk outside. Okay. And we're all just watching. This is mid-return because he knows what's happening. Like, you see the train coming, and we're all sitting there gawking. And for 30 seconds, I'm kind of like, man, you can't help. Now I got people on the Jets I hurt for right now, like Joe Douglas, Vinny Curry, like people that I really love, and there's some great players there. Mike Remmers, Dwayne Brown, like people that I fuck with, man. So. It's hard for me as a football fan to sit there and like the rest of America kind of like you can't look away from a car accident, and it's kind of funny because you're just like, how could it go any worse, right? This was your Super Bowl. It's like the get the monkey off your back. Instead this, and then it hit me 15 seconds later that it's not funny because the Jets killed a big parlay for me too. So the Jets hurt everybody. Yep. The Jets touch everyone, dude, and Zach Wilson is to blame. You have two chances before the half in a field goal game. Bill Belichick knew the under was going to hit. It's 4th and inches, and they kick a field goal early in that game. Like he's like, nah, this is all we'll need. He's got two chances at midfield before the half, and he almost throws a pick on 3rd and 2. And then you get the ball back with like under 30 to go, and you're at the 40. Like a lot of quarterbacks in this league in a field goal game. I'm terrified that, like you're going to pick up one chunk, two chunks, and you're going to kick a field goal before the half. I'm not even afraid, not in the least bit. And then at the end of the game, your last possession is 1st and 10, back foot. And this is one of my biggest gripes with him. I'm no fucking Tom Mansky of quarterbacks.
Back-to-back-to-back AAU national champs.
Right. something like that. And I think Travis Kelce was on one of those teams.
Definitely.
So 1st and 10, back foot to Moore, and it's out of bounds. So it's so nonchalant, man. It's the first play of your fucking drive with a chance to win the game, and you're just flicking it off. And sometimes when I watch him, I'm like, yeah, the weird arm angle stuff. He's kind of like dollar store Patrick Mahomes. And I'm not trying to. I wouldn't kill the guy so bad if he were more accountable. You see how this thing goes? But when you're off your back foot, when you're fucking, you just don't look like you're just flicking the ball out there, dude. And you're off target. 2nd and 10, you almost throw a pick. 3rd and 10, you're sacked, but there's a hold, so you get another chance. 3rd and short, you're behind the 6 in the flat for a tackle for a loss. So like, they're such a quarterback away, and that's what's so sad for this defense. By the way, Reed, if your quarterback's name is Wilson, you are a quarterback away. Oh. The Broncos, we'll talk about them in a little bit. 20 points is all they need to score to be like Super Bowl favorites right now. If
it was 18
points.
18 points. Another game. 18 points. All
that's
we
that
need,
magic
and
number.
We would be behind the Eagles for best record in the NFL.
All these fucking guys needed 6 points. Or whatever it was. I mean,
2 safeties.
And listen, I feel terrible for the Jets for a number of reasons. Number one, I feel terrible for the defense, and this is what widens the chasm, Kyle, the gap, the divide in that locker room. The defense is wasted, man. You have a championship defense here, whether it was Quinnen Williams with Lawson, Clemens, Huff, Franklin Myers, Johnson. Everybody got to the quarterback. Mosley on 4th and 3, heroic stop. 3rd and 1, Quinnen Williams and Whitehead, heroic stop. This defense is like, bro, everything you put in front of us today, we fucking met the challenge. We stood up on the road. We stood up and we gave you a chance to win. And you can't even put together one drive, man. That's the deflating thing. And it's tough. And the way the game ends is, and maybe it's worth it for Bill Belichick to draft a returner solely to return kicks and punts in the 3rd round, right?
Right.
Because beating the Jets is like, it's paramount to this guy. But me and Reed looked last night, 50-plus yard touchdowns under a minute to go in the game. I think there's 16 total, not including special teams. So special teams, there's a couple punt returns. There were 2, I think, all time.
Yeah, that's right. This one, Deshaun, and then 1 from the 80s.
But just even take offense. The way that they lost that game is so fucking unprecedented. I think there was also a stat, first time in 40 years, that defense or special teams scored the first touchdown of the game that late in the game. So it was just such an unprecedented way to lose such a hurtful game for the Jets. 16 times in the history of football, if you count offense, and we had one a couple weeks ago with DJ Moore. 16 times in the history of our great game, Kyle, has something that fucked up happened to a team.
A lot of football.
Something that fucked up, 50-plus yards, including special teams, like 19 or 20 times. But you get the idea.
Was there a block in the back?
There was a block in the back.
Because it was blatant to me.
Yes.
There was a block in the back. Would it have changed the game? No, but that's never stopped people from calling that before. And here's the thing.
And it's so unpatriot-like to block in the back on a play like that. First thing I thought was, what?
Bill's going to put that guy
That's not Beamer ball.
No, people.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, Bill's going to put that guy in the trunk.
Yeah.
So, very, very lucky that wasn't called. And then, Greg Zuerlein, you watch him kick field goals, look like fucking sliders out there. So, I mean, if they'd have had to kick that ball, there was no guarantee that they won that game. There was no guarantee they won that game. So I heard a Jets fan say this last night, and I thought this was very provocative. Scott was like, we need to go get Nathaniel Hackett, rescue him, and we need to get Aaron Rodgers. We need Aaron Rodgers. We need Nathaniel Hackett next year. So, if I'm Aaron Rodgers and I'm looking at the Jets right now, and I'm looking at Garrett Wilson, and I'm looking at the tight ends they've got, and I'm like, I'm not saying that they're great offensively. They have all the weapons in the world, but Breece Hall will be back.
Better situation than he's currently in.
It's good for thank you, Zach Wilson, if I'm the Jets, for showing me who you are early enough that I can make a move.
And probably more direct flights from any of the airports in and around New York to South America.
Yeah, that's true. You can get as much ayahuasca as you want. You
A lot
get as
easier
much
to get there than from Green Bay.
Fuck yeah, Reed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and on the other side of it, we haven't even talked about that. Their offense didn't look that great. At least they were able to put together a bunch of dinking and dunking and screens, and they gashed them on some runs. But there's another team that might be in my heart of hearts. What I want to see is Aaron Rodgers relocated. Those two places would be a lot of fun. It's totally speculative.
New England and New York.
Yeah, those are two prime candidates there.
Said it before.
Or Washington.
Yeah.
And I hate that for Taylor Heineke.
Same.
Kyle, topically, like the Pilgrims, they were supposed to end up in Washington. They end up in New England. And they were escaping religious
Washington
suppression. They were looking for, right? Same thing with Aaron Rodgers. He just wants to be able to be who he is.
Do you think Zach Wilson will start next week against Chicago?
Yeah, but here's the thing. If I'm the Jets, I heard what he said, and maybe not. You know what? If I'm Robert Saleh, I don't start him.
So it's going to be
because
two backups.
You lose the locker room, right?
Right now, you're kind of in a situation where you are like looking at this defense, the receivers, like.
Is it Mike White? Who is it?
It's Joe. It could be Joe Flacco, bro. Guy who's won a Super Bowl. Yeah, no, and it could be Mike White at some point. But it could be Joe Flacco too.
Joe Flacco has played 3 weeks this season, has more passing touchdowns than Russell Wilson.
That's the reason for me. I'm looking at what Joe Flacco's done on tape this year. You beat the Browns with him. He
can stretch the field.
He can stretch the field.
Torrey Smith said Joe Flacco throws the best deep ball he's ever caught.
There you have it. Torrey Smith also thinks that every game should be in a dome, and the same thing with. I don't know that I love Torrey Smith. I don't know that you can great. Sam Darnold this one is the only thing. Is like who's gonna? Isn't that weird that Sam Darnold was so bad, but somebody gave up a bunch of fucking capital for him, and right now the problem is there's so many damn quarterbacks in the draft next year, and. Maybe somebody's in love with Zach Wilson, and they think if he escapes that market, and whatever.
So the last 13 games, now it's 14-0 in favor of the Patriots. Zach Wilson
started with
Scott's just shaking his head.
Did you know that streak started with
you guys?
With me and,
right,
and the Patriots? 16 Patriots. I just want to take credit for this streak.
That's good, Chris.
Yeah.
Zach Wilson, he's now 0-4 with 2 passing touchdowns and 7 picks in his career against the Patriots. The only quarterback with 3+ starts and a lower passer rating versus the Patriots is Sam Darnold.
Kyle,
Jets.
I saw some really bad stats floating around. I know today is like, there's holidays.
Mm-hmm.
You know how there's holidays. This should be like kill Zach Wilson Day, where everybody online just shares something negative about Zach Wilson, because that's what I feel like it was this morning when I logged on. This is from Doug Clausen. Zach Wilson's first 20 career starts are a little too close to Jamarcus Russell's for comfort. First 20 starts, Russell 6.2 yards of attempt, Wilson 6.3, touchdown and interception 15-13. Jamarcus Russell, he wasn't that bad. Wilson 13 and 16, passer rating 70.6, passer rating 70.7. So it's bad. Like Zach Wilson in 7 games this year is from Zach Rosenblatt. Zach Wilson, 7 games this year, 4 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 55.6% completions. Johnny Manziel in 9 games in 2015, 7 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 57.8. Kyle, 57.8 completions.
In 2021, Wilson had the worst completion percentage in the NFL at 55.6. 2022, through 11 games, Wilson has the worst completion percentage in the NFL at 55.6. Also, in the last 9 NFL seasons, there have been just 6 games where an offense gained 105 yards or fewer. It was the Jets yesterday, the Jets in 2021 versus Buffalo, Chicago in 2021 versus Cleveland, the Jets in 2019 versus New England, Washington in 2018 versus Philly, and the Jets in 2017 versus Denver.
Imagine this team with Justin Fields, who they could have drafted.
Oof. Do you know the Jets would have been first place in the AFC East yesterday with a win?
I'm well aware.
He's aware.
You know where they're at now.
Here's the thing. I need to speak.
Yeah, go ahead, talk.
Go ahead, buddy.
This is wild.
Take it away.
When you go back to the last team that was good with the New York Jets, it was the Rex Ryan Jets. They ran the ball. They played defense. They were a good, sound team. Who was their quarterback?
Mark Sanchez.
Mark Sanchez could do a lot of good things. He ran the play action well. He didn't need to do too many things. It's like Zach Wilson. He throws down 3/4. He's throwing in the flat to a wide receiver, throwing out, and he's dropping his arm angle for no damn reason.
Dude, that's the thing that drives me crazy. It's so fucking nonchalant.
Just throw the ball.
It's funny
over
you
your
brought up
shoulder.
Mark Sanchez, Scott, because I was listening to Mark talk about turnovers in the boot game and how you cannot throw picks on naked. And remember a couple weeks ago, he threw that errant interception on the right side,
Yes.
like a
He was throwing the
nonchalant
ball
pick.
Yeah.
And Sanchez was hammering. He's like, the only rule on naked is no interceptions. Like,
Yeah.
throw it away, run with
Yeah.
it. You can't throw interceptions. He didn't do naked interceptions yesterday, but the errant throws and the nonchalance seems to be like an overarching theme with him.
That was a defiant no. I did not let the defense down. It was not like no. I don't think. I was like, I don't want to go there.
No.
No,
like
next question.
It was no. Fuck you guys and fuck the defense.
Seems like a brat.
And
Yeah, you're right,
hey,
entitled.
listen. Here's the thing. We try to be real fair on this show, but I've played defense on teams where Kyle, you've seen us play back in the day. Like we would fucking lose 9-6.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I lost a Monday Night Football 12-9. Like shut Marshawn Lynch down, the whole thing. So if Kellen Clemens got up there at his locker after that game and was like, nah, there would be a fight in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And Kellen Clemens would never, because he's the best.
Yeah.
And you see what being accountable does?
Yeah,
It's like-
it's a people business at the beginning of it.
Yeah.
It's a people business.
Yep.
Yeah, we're playing football, but it's like it has to do with humans.
That just pissed me off as a defensive player. I'm like, God damn, did you let us down? We were. It was a Herculean effort out here for us. 4th and 3, 3rd and 1.
As most of them have
6
been.
sacks. Fuck, it's getting old. That definitely would have killed Carl. The Jets killed Carl. If you watch Curb Your Enthusiasm, the Jets killed Carl. Yesterday was the type of day that yesterday is why Carl's not with us anymore, dude.
Right.
Yesterday's why in Big Daddy said the goddamn Jets.
It's the same thing. I have a 5-year-old son now. I feel guilty for putting Jets anything on him at this point. He's
Yeah.
gonna have options. I'm gonna give him options.
Why don't you get him a Bills hat?
I don't want him to grow up in this.
Get him a Bills
in this
hat.
same old Jets.
Who's
world.
1B?
There is no 1B. That's it. There's no 1B.
The hard part for you is you're Jets Yankees. You can't even Jets Mets it.
No. Well,
Jets,
at least I have
Mets.
something to.
That's it rhymes and everybody.
I'm into that.
So socially, that's tough for you.
It's fine. I mean,
Okay.
I look at the Yankees for some saving grace sometimes.
All right. So the Bills survived. Okay, we're about to do one words in a second, but Bills survived. The operative word here is luck. They were lucky early. First off, this week was insane. I was talking to Eric Wood. So this is from Eric Wood, Kyle. The team president and VP of communications had to go get Deion Dawkins from his house because the plow had been stuck and they couldn't only get within a quarter mile of him. So Ron walked through the snow to Deion so Deion could follow him back through. So Deion Dawkins walked a quarter mile through
Was that
a
the player
cutout
we
in
saw?
the snow.
Because there was
there was also
a
a
video
tackle.
of a guy.
Spencer Brown. This guy, when you're 6'9", just fucking walk through the snow.
Yeah, he can see the Caribbean from where he's standing.
Yeah. So he's so holed up in his fucking house that the neighbors are like, what a college town, huh?
The best.
What a town Buffalo is. Your neighbors shovel your driveway. What a community feeling. All the fans share in this one. It took some guys 4 hours to get to the airport or whatever it was.
Wasn't it 2014 that this also happened? And they
They had to go to Detroit.
And snowmobiles. All the fans around their houses got the
Yep.
players on snowmobiles to
To the
take them to the
airport.
airport. Yep.
Imagine showing up at the fucking airport with a snowmobile.
I mean,
That
incredible.
Just trumps
Just out of the movie.
Packers little bicycle
Yeah.
thing down to the practice field.
Stupid.
Put everybody on a damn snowmobile. Ride them to the
Ride
airport.
snowmobiles, you'll win games.
But needless to say, it's very disruptive. It's disruptive to your routine. We are very routine-based animals as NFL players. Why is this not happening at the exact same
Even in
time this week?
retirement.
Yeah, well, yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
So, we like the structure. We like travel to be on time. And everybody was like, this was the dumbest take in the world. That this proved that, this 6-foot blizzard proved that we need dome stadiums. The dome would have collapsed, fam. The dome would have killed everybody in the stadium because there'd been so much snow on it. You saw what happened in Minnesota. It would have been like an avalanche down there.
Josh Allen tall enough to survive.
Not just that. Yeah, right. Spencer Brown, survivor's
two
guilt.
survivors.
You know what I mean? Just like everybody else buried in the avalanche. He's just like, guys, get help. It's just his neck.
First guy to go is the head coach.
That would have been, yeah. But you don't think McDermott's real tall?
He just strikes me as a not tall guy.
Poor Zach Moss. Well, he just escaped it. Luckily, he's in Indy where they can open and close the roof. Yeah, the snow, it was more about the staff. It was obviously you can't play in 6 feet of snow, but it was about the staff couldn't get there. It was about the fans couldn't get there. Like, it was unsafe, okay?
Credit to the Bills fans, man, for getting to Detroit, for making the trip. And Reed was doing some research earlier. We're like, are they going around the lakes? What are they doing?
How are they doing that?
Reed said it's a 4-hour drive. They go right through Canada.
Yep.
Incredible. Like, up and around?
4-hour drive.
They go up and around the lakes.
I thought the Earth ended at
Yeah, like the end of the Game of Thrones map.
It's just like
yeah, no, it keeps going.
They just had to get a puddle jumper over
But that's Canada over there.
It is. Well, Toronto's pretty close.
It's right there.
So it's right there. I could tell, like, in the beginning of the game, Josh was tentative. Like, Josh did not want to do what he had been doing the last couple weeks. And I think that was the holdup in them getting going. I mean, Gabe Davis dropped a big ball. He recovered and had a great game. That might have gotten them jump-started, but 12 yards to the first bunch of possessions and then 100-plus in the last 2 possessions of the first half. But let me tell you why they were lucky. 7-0 out of the gate. Cleveland goes down there and gets points. You go 3 and out, so the worst possible thing that could happen, 7-0, 3 and out. And then in a possession or so, Cleveland gets the ball back up 10-3. And I always talk about this, like when teams have an opportunity to jump a team that you're not as good as objectively, you have to take advantage of it. And Cleveland did not. They were up 10-3. They dropped 2 balls in the end zone. One of them, your buddy, Farrell
Brown.
Yeah, Farrell Brown dropped a ball in the end zone. But 2 guys dropped the ball, so he shares that. And then Jacoby fumbles a snap at midfield. All of this up 10-3. So the Bills almost went down 17-3. Not to say they couldn't come back from that. They've come back against better teams than that, but they were in a different place coming back against the Ravens than they were this Sunday. It was tough sledding, but eventually they got going. And, I think what bothers Josh as well is, like, the rush. He's kind of impervious to it because he's bigger than everybody, right? He's more athletic, he's bigger. But you say what you want about Jadeveon Clowney. We know who Myles Garrett is. These 2 guys are big, tall, athletic, violent motherfuckers.
Predators.
And so Josh, he sees 2 equals rushing the edge, like, athletically.
And there's no door that's wider than the other.
Exactly. And the way Myles Garrett sacked him, you don't see Josh get slung down like that a lot. I mean, but, it was like Godzilla and King Kong. You're like, this is the matchup I've been waiting for.
Josh Allen's usually Danny Almonte in the situation.
Yes.
There was another Danny
There was another
Almonte.
kid that was born in 1997.
I am 12.
Yeah. I'm also 12, Josh. No first down for 22 minutes for these guys. No Diggs targets. It was a real chin check for these guys.
Diggs was pissed.
He is, because he's a competitor. He wants to rock.
Pissed.
But the defense stepped up when it had to. Milano was great. That guy just. Somebody asked me yesterday, is he the closest thing we've seen to Luke Kuechly? And yeah, pretty close. Now Warner is just as good, right? People don't watch Warner as much. I'm not putting him in the Luke Kuechly class, but I haven't seen anybody look this instinctive, and I don't want to leave the guys out in Tampa because they're amazing sideline to sideline. But the way, like the play Milano made in the red zone, it's just he's so special.
A guy who's climbing that list, Nick Bolton.
Bolton's pretty fucking good too, and we talked about this. I was so impressed with Nick Bolton last year, and then in the AFC Championship game, when I came up to see y'all play Buffalo, he just made so many impact plays, and watching him in person, the range he covers is amazing.
And even yesterday, he stripped the ball, and then he got the pick at the end of the game. That's a hustle play.
Yeah.
So you see like a technical success with the strip, and then you see a hustle play. Like, these are Kuechly type plays.
We haven't even talked about your guy who ended up in Baltimore, Roquan. So,
Yes.
There's a lot of really fun off-the-ball linebackers right now in the NFL, and I know their trade value might not be that high, but they are fun to watch. When there's a really good instinctive linebacker that's playing Oklahoma drill out there,
I asked you about Matt Milano earlier in the season, and Chris said, when Waylon is ready to study football, I will only have him watch Matt Milano.
That's the truth.
That's what he said to me.
I don't think any of us longs are going to be good enough to be Matt Milano, but
if you want to learn from the best.
If you want to become a linebacker or something, like fucking throw his tape on. Little white gloves out there, just
Blake Martinez was kind of like that. He was like light.
Yeah.
That.
Didn't he retire last week?
Yeah, he did. He retired a couple weeks ago.
Over Pokemon?
And shout out to Blake Martinez, who broke my fucking neck in 2017. And I love you, Blake.
Shout out to the guy for the Texans who broke my neck. I don't even know his name. I didn't catch the license plate on this guy. It was one of my last games. Puller for the Texans.
I think Blake was like, "Are you okay?" After the play, I was like, "No, Blake."
Couldn't turn my neck for a whole year. All right, so yeah, what was the Pokemon thing with Blake Martinez?
He's a big collector.
He
of
sold
Pokemon.
a card for $650K,
and he was like,
I don't know. The timing was coincidental, or
he is a real deal blue blood gamer and fantasy, card games and all that stuff.
Why don't we get Blake Martinez on the pod?
We'll have him on tomorrow.
Hey, Blake.
The card was purchased by Dr. Fax.
Yeah, okay. Dr. Fax definitely had something to say.
Chris, we can have Blake Martinez on next week.
Well, let's get him on because I want to talk about retirement. I want to talk about Pokemon. I want to talk about Magic the Gathering.
Really bright.
Lions, Giants.
Little too early in the season to be doing Victory cigars with the fans, Brian Daboll.
Okay.
About 3-4 weeks ago.
You couldn't wait.
I was cheering for him yesterday. I picked the Giants. But you know what? The truth bomb hurts, man. We're not all Mike Ditka. We can't just smoke cigars out in front of the fans. You know what I mean? There he is right here. In the warmer months still, hey, good job.
Forcing
guys.
a cigar.
4-0. Stoke the stogie, signed some babies' heads. But look at you now, Dan Campbell.
we love Dan Campbell. These are two of my favorite coaches.
Big Dan
Mr.
Campbell,
November, Dan Campbell. Right? Can you imagine if he wins on Thanksgiving and runs the table in November?
Oh, my God.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, listen, some people were ready to bury the cat. He's a good football coach. Give this team time. You just get Jameson Williams back at practice today, too, which is a major fun story, right? I mean, like, that kid he was awesome in college, and they drafted him anyways. Tore his ACL. Drafted him anyways. Was it Achilles or ACL? It was ACL.
ACL.
Yeah.
Those are always the best players. When they know something's wrong with them, they're like, we still want them.
Yeah.
Right.
Robert Quinn had a brain tumor, no problem.
Let's go. Trey Smith, heart condition, fuck it.
Ojabo, torn Achilles.
Yeah.
He's back.
Yep. So, I mean, like, they're fun. The Lions are easy to root for. And this was the game for a while. Like, I've read articles about, like, luck index and teams that have been lucky and schedule and close games. Like, the Giants are to be respected. And earlier in the season, I called them like the new Tennessee Titans because they are tough. They can run the football, not when you can load the box and ignore all the weapons on the outside, which Detroit did. They just manned up and they were like, all right, let's see. Let's see if these guys can beat us. And like that's the team that fired Aubrey Pleasant like a month ago, right?
Right.
They fired their DB's coach. And now they're just saying, fuck it, we'll man you up. And that's how bad it is in New York. And New York lost another receiver in Wan'Dale Robinson. They lost corners yesterday. They lost O-linemen. The Giants are ahead of schedule. The question is going to be, and this is the hard part, if you're Brian Daboll or you're a Giants fan or you're a player on that team, like, do you want to hear that Daniel Jones has not had weapons? You know what I mean? Like, because that's kind of true this year. I mean, like you could say, let's go into the offseason and take care of Danny Dimes. He got us this far with nobody to throw to. But do you feel like he's not the guy?
I would feel very uncomfortable building a roster around him to like try to give him weapons because there's a high chance that fails.
And I'm not saying he's a bad player.
He's not.
This is the thing. Like, you got to have a special guy there to win the whole thing, unless you're really, really transcendent.
Good doesn't cut it in this league.
So, like, yeah, I just want to know, if you're a Giants fan, this is an open-ended question. I don't have a take here. Are you going to go into the offseason and say, well, we didn't have enough weapons outside? That could change. Because it's true. You haven't. But, I mean, I don't know.
I would say he's shown you enough this season, especially with Brian Dable, that you have enough confidence in him. Because what we were talking about earlier with the Jets, he's shown that he can not make as many mistakes as he's made in the past. He can hold on to the football a little bit better, and he can play complementary football when Saquon's playing as well as he had. So if you want to put all your eggs in your Saquon basket, as you have and as you should, then it seems like Daniel Jones would be the best complement, unless there's you could get, unless there's a Taylor Heineke, a really gamer, or maybe you trade for Gardner Minshew because he's still in Philly.
It's all one half.
Minshew.
Yeah, another Aaron Rodgers possible. There's a couple teams up the Eastern Seaboard that I'm not saying of all Mac Jones, Daniel Jones, all of them Joneses.
Davy Jones.
I like Daniel the best. Okay, I do like Daniel Jones, but there's nobody outside. You just have to win in such a unique, scrappy way. Goff hit 3 times, 0 sacks. It's just, I don't know. You got a lot. For a team that's pretty good and has a pretty good record, they have a lot of things that they can improve on. And I guess that's a positive. If you're a Giants fan. You're like, all right, we're 7-3 or whatever we are, and we probably don't deserve to be 7-3, but that's our record.
And we still
isn't
have
that a Parcellsism that your record, you are what your record is, but there are some holes that we're going to fill pretty easily in the offseason. And hey, it's going to be all on these guys and this new talent department in New York, right?
Right.
To go out and get the talent, because you got a hell of a coach. You're ahead of schedule. And Aiden Hutchinson with a pick, man, that was a beautiful play. It's a beautiful play.
He's a beast.
He's at 5.5 this year. He had that big multi-sack game. I still don't think he's going to be a perennial double-digit guy, but I think he's going to be a guy that can really help your defense.
And he's a complete defender.
He's a complete defensive player,
which sometimes is better almost than a guy who's going to get 10 sacks and get rolled off the ball in the run game.
Only player in the NFL this season with 3+ sacks and 3+ picks.
3 sacks, 3 picks.
Takeaways, sorry.
3 takeaways. Two picks. He had the one on Rodgers.
That's right.
He recovered a fumble, I'm pretty sure. Yep. But bottom line is, that's one thing. It's nice to have Aiden Hutchinson playing well so that you're like, oh, I don't have to feel that heat going into the offseason. One less thing that I'm worried about.
Exactly.
Right.
People aren't going to be talking about what's up with Aiden Hutchinson, because Aiden Hutchinson has played solid football.
Yep.
Solid football, man. Okay, Cincy Pitt. After this game, Kyle, I watched a little bit of this because I had Pittsburgh catching 4.
It was fun to watch those two quarterbacks compete. Kenny Pickett throwing some tuds. Joe Burrow competing, getting a little salty on the sideline.
Was this the game that Kenny showed you a little bit? Showed you he can play in this league and that, he's ready to take the reins from Mitch?
I think the reins are his. Yeah. I think the question is what does the future look like for them? I think Kenny Pickett's got a lot to like. I mean, and when you got Pickens, they're a year now under their belt almost of having a rapport. And really, it hadn't even been that. It's been, training camp and then a couple games here.
Stages of a relationship between a receiver and a quarterback,
which looks like it's going to be fruitful. I know that Pickens dropped the ball late in that game. Down 2 touchdowns. That was
they scored
was tough.
Anyway on that drive, but they had a little bit more time. To do something cheeky.
Yeah, they nice soccer word. Reed, right. Go USA, and they just. I think the bigger lead here is Cincinnati's defense. They're sloppy right now. They make a lot of mistakes, especially in that first half. They did a good job coming out of the half and holding Pittsburgh down in the third quarter. But, that team last year, their defense was more opportunistic than good. They were good and solid, but,
big plays.
They made some big plays. And this year, it's not like they've been a lot worse, but it just gets magnified for some reason. And I think it's, they're missing Awuzie, who's out. Some breakdowns in the secondary. They just have to be better down the stretch there if they want to get back to being considered a contender, because over the last 5 games, they've had 30 points 4 times. You're averaging, 3 points per drive. You got 16. You have a 116 passer rating for Joe Burrow, 16 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Like, he's rolling right now, and they haven't had Jamar Chase.
5. Right, exactly.
But they've obviously a lot was made about Mixon's huge game, and it's not going to be like that all the time. 2 weeks ago, it was a massive Mixon
They didn't have
game.
him.
5 touchdowns, whatever.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen every game.
And they didn't have him yesterday for a lot of it. And P. Ryan stepped up and had like a big game, bro. Like, P. Ryan was killing me.
Say his full name.
P. Ryan. Samaje P. Ryan.
Samaje? That's the coolest name.
It's fucking cool, dude.
Samaje P. Ryan.
Yeah, that's good. You like that?
By God.
You wish your name was Samaje P. Ryan?
I kind of do.
Well,
It's
so
like Samari Roll.
today I do, because the motherfucker balled out yesterday. He scored fantasy managers many points, many points. But I think Burrow can never be counted out, right? He's got the respect of his teammates. Boyd, after the game, was talking about, we got Joe Burrow, man. Like, and Burrow loved playing in that game. Cold weather, division games, people counting him out, like myself included. Like, I don't see it.
Hoodie Carmelo, Beanie Burrow.
Beanie Burrow. Nice.
He took a lot of hits yesterday.
IJS.
Yes.
He took a lot of hits, but
FFS.
they didn't get to him as many times as week one. Only 7 sacks week one, only twice last week. And the big turning point was the Steelers starting a drive at midfield early in the fourth quarter, trailing by 4. They ended up punting because of a penalty. Cincinnati takes over their own 7 and needed just 8 plays to go the full field.
Yeah, and you watch TJ Watt after this game, and he just looks dejected. I mean, he couldn't get home, but he had a great play in the past game. He was back there a lot. He just couldn't get home, and they're 3-7. This team has never had a losing record. It's going to happen this year, right? It feels like Tomlin's ever had a losing record, right?
Yeah, they've never had a losing record.
TJ Watt's never had a losing record. TJ Watt hit his greatness, and I truly believe he's as good as his brother. Like, I don't do the whole comparison thing, but if his brother's a benchmark, this guy has, in some ways exceeded it, and he's been magnificent to watch. He's one of my favorite players in the league to watch, and it's unthinkable that they're going to waste this guy's career.
The dark side of football.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I mean, like, listen, they had a couple runs with Ben late in his career, but he never. It's such a shame this guy wasn't there for those big Super Bowl runs. And maybe on the other side of this, they're going to have that late in his career as a vet, as an OG. But I just, watching him after the game, I felt so dejected for him. And then on the other side of it, Burrow said this is one of his favorite games that he's played in. And, being on a middling team, which they are right now, that's trying to get over the hump, the grind of trying to...
Winning is so hard.
Winning is so
league.
fucking hard. That is, in some ways, those are the wins that are the most fun when you're on a team that's like, we're not sure, but
we got it done.
We're trying to figure it out. And like, when you're on a bad team, you win. You're like, oh, yeah, we won. What a relief. But we suck. When you're on a great team, you're like, business as usual. But when you're on the Bengals right now, you're on the road, division game, people counting you out.
Weather,
it's cold. It just feels like fucking band together time. Mm-hmm. And so I really felt that one for them. So
TJ Watt is now the 4th player with 2 games with at least half a sack and an interception against a single opponent in the same season.
Bottom line here, Nathaniel Hackett gives up play calling duty and says, I'm going to spend more time on defense, which you think that would give you some cover, but then the defense gives up an 80-yard touchdown drive, and then the overtime situation.
And which Pat took responsibility for. He said, I got to maintain leverage. I got to stay home. He turned my hips. And it's Devontae Adams, one of the best route runners in the league. But yeah, we shouldn't have let that last tying field goal drive go.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson, just take the sack. You don't need to burn the ball. Just take the sack, let the clock run. They didn't have any timeouts. It would have gone down to like a minute, and they would have needed to go the full field. So yeah, 18 points is that's the story of the game. Freaking Peyton Manning, when he had half an arm, he could score 18 points.
Yeah,
I know, man. So I'm asking you, as the new owner of the Denver Broncos,
That boy Reed Walton.
Are you firing Hackett this week?
That's interesting. This week, I don't know. I keep seeing these tweets that are like, if the Broncos win one more game, they're one game out of the playoffs, and that's because the playoff race is just so tight right now. I don't know how many other veteran coaches you have in that coaching stable to pick up the reins and like be that leader. I don't even know what Hackett does anymore because you have like a situational head coach who helps him out. They hired him in like week 2, and now Clint's calling plays. But after this season, I think this might, if things don't turn around, this might be his time to go. And I don't know how our defensive coordinator, if he's ready. He's said in the past, like, I'm ready to jump up and take over head coaching duties. If there's a really good special teams coordinator out there who's coached before and led a team to the playoffs,
I bet Sean Payton's probably like, fuck this shit. There's no way I'm dealing with this Russell Wilson stuff.
No, he's not doing that. But
no way.
If maybe Versace is like, hey, I can do a head coaching gig, and Clint Kubiak's like offensive coordinator, let's party.
Reed, you're too nice to be a billionaire. You know what you do in this situation? You fire Nathaniel Hackett. and people are so like, it is a production business, man. It is a production business. And at the end of this game, one of the most surreal things in the world was at the end of the game, the Josh McDaniels Hackett handshake. It's like Josh is watching from a life raft. He's like, "Oh, my owner's broke."
Yeah.
I'm safe.
Yeah, I can't get. Yeah,
sorry about the fact that your guy owns Walmart. That should be. There's no salary cap. It's not. Hey, do you have the money to eat his guarantees? It's that easy.
Right.
And he's not getting the job done. And you're lording over a franchise that a bunch of guys are, blood, sweat, and tears for, a bunch of fans. They're living it. The whole thing. If it's not working, it's not working. It's nothing personal against Nathaniel Hackett. I think he's probably a great guy and probably a great coach. He didn't get this by not being a great coach, but being a coach and a head coach are two totally different things.
Prime example. I got drafted by Mark Trestman, who's a brilliant offensive mind, and somebody who was under Bill Walsh, and the Raiders took the Raiders to the Super Bowl as a coordinator, I believe, when they lost to the Bucs.
Yep.
Getting in front of a room and leading men, offensive, defensive, and special teams is a whole different ball game. And I'm sure these guys who have tried out from coordinator positions to head coaching positions would be the first to fucking tell you, like, goddamn, I wish I was the OC again,
Metrosexual coaches, sub 500 generally. Mark Trestman, would you consider him metrosexual?
No, not at all. I just think he
wasn't fashionable?
No, he was like, pretty basic in that.
But he had those glasses.
He had glasses. He couldn't see well. It doesn't mean he's metrosexual.
Everybody with glasses is metro.
But God, he was smart. And every time he would put an install in, we'd say, God, we're going to score 38, 40 points this week.
Yeah.
But then
what does metrosexual even mean anymore?
Google it.
I'm telling you what it says. I haven't heard the word used in a while. I think people are afraid to use the word, but there's nothing wrong with the word.
Right.
Metrosexual means a young, urban, heterosexual male with liberal political views and an interest in fashion and a refined sense of taste.
So you don't think you're a metrosexual?
Not really. I'm not young, and I'm not urban. I'm not young and I'm not urban.
You're urban.
I'm not young and I'm not urban.
We don't live in the county.
He doesn't qualify. It's too old.
I do live in the county.
I'm trying to make this work.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm too old.
Matt,
I'm not.
Back me the fuck up.
Interested. I don't have an interest in fashion.
You have a refined sense of taste.
You do have an interest in fashion. Absolutely.
Like what? You have the floor.
The thing that Meg bought you in Vegas that you were talking about yesterday.
Interesting.
That wasn't Levi's. I know that.
It's interesting when my wife brings me a James Purse full toddler suit of a corduroy top. I love wearing the same shit every day. Interest in fashion. I'm going to wear that corduroy suit out. Metrosexual.
Nate is urban. Kyle, Nate is urban.
I guess I am metrosexual, Kyle. Look at this guy.
Jacked. That's our guy from the Green Light movie.
Spornosexual is the new metrosexual. I don't know what that means, and we don't have enough time to read all that.
Maybe tomorrow.
But yeah, metrosexual. Write us. Tell us, is it cool to be metrosexual in 2022? I think metrosexuals became hipsters. Is that true, you think?
I don't know. I haven't heard the
Everybody's so afraid to talk about metrosexuality. I think there's a strong case that Mark Trestman was a little metrosexual. I don't mean that as a fucking negative. Yeah, let us know. What's going on with that?
Metro.
Is it still cool to be metro? That was such an early 2000s word. All right. You know who was good in the early 2000s? The Rams.
Greatest show on.
I just steered us out of that. Let's do one word.
Fuck yeah. Olave.
Oh, no, my word is careful. Matt Stafford, Roxanne. Matt Stafford needs to be careful. It's 2 concussions in 2 weeks. I don't know if he's in protocol or what, but like he came out of the ball game and with another concussion, or at least, they were being careful. He's too old. He's accomplished too much, man. Like, honestly, I'm not even fucking around here. Like, I like Matt Stafford. I like anybody who suits up on Sunday. Like, take care of yourself.
Really nice guy too.
This team is bad. The team is a dumpster fire right now. You got no Cooper Kupp. I told you, I bet the Saints so big, man. I mean, it was Friday night. It just hit me. I was like, oh, the Saints are going to win this ball game. How did the Rams score? And it was true. It was one play action shot. I mean, otherwise it's 27-10.
You talking about the left sideline?
I forget where it was.
Yeah.
It was left sideline. So, like the Rams are really bad. You're Matt Stafford. You got nobody to throw to. You're out of it. I don't even know if you want to keep playing after this year. So what do you be fucking careful. I know you don't listen to this podcast, but if you know Matt Stafford,
historically,
if you know
is
somebody
a tough SOB.
Yeah, you don't have to, you got nothing to prove to anybody. And that's the thing is like the power of being like peer pressure and being a football player is so strong that I bet you Matt Stafford's sitting there like, I want to play for my guys. Like, cause that's who he is. But this is your head, man. And this team ain't worth it.
I have a thought for the Saints.
What?
Because they seem to be even more dangerous yesterday with 2 quarterbacks back in the lineup, seeing a heavy dose of Taysom and Andy Dalton. What if they implement a 3 quarterback system?
Just throw some more
Wasn't
quarterbacks
that, I think that was last year
Carolina.
where they had,
Carolina
they flirted
tried
with, there might have been 3 quarterbacks on the field, but Jameis he lined up wide receiver, and he took that pitch and chucked it downfield.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, man.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, Kyle, I think you're onto something.
Derrick Henry's throwing touchdowns. Let Jameis out the bag, baby.
Dude, I just the Saints are not out of it, and that's the wildest thing. The Saints are going to play they rested a lot of guys yesterday. Okay, like that's why a lot of people were like, you like the Saints? Have you seen the injury report? Yeah, I've seen the injury report. It's fucking a mile long, dude. It's and it speaks to how confident they are that they can rest some of these guys and pick up this win. And you're not out of it, which is wild to say. So
shout out to Cam Jordan, Ultimate Iron Man.
Yeah,
played 176 straight games.
Insanity.
The only game he missed during that period was COVID. He missed a game because of COVID. Imagine how pissed you would be if your streak ended because of COVID.
Oh my!
And then
God.
an eye had him out yesterday. So I mean.
It's the little stuff that gets him.
And we
not
like,
the COVID
we like
little,
Cam Jordan.
It's not like an ACL or a pulled hamstring.
It is always the little stuff.
Yeah.
I liked seeing your inner turmoil yesterday, having bet the Saints and then Bryce Perkins, backup QB for the Rams from UVA, finally gets
one
in.
of my heroes that took home the Commonwealth Cup for us. Like, legitimately one of the most important people in my adult life, Bryce Perkins. They gave me one of the best days of my adult life. And then the audacity of me hoping that he drives him down the field and somebody fumbles yesterday because I'm on the Saints. I mean, it's just fucking sports, man. Next game.
Ravens-Panthers.
Hangover. Baltimore hungover out of the bye. And no run game. I mean, that's the problem. Like, we were talking about this yesterday with Scott. Like, Edwards, those guys, if they're not healthy, this offense doesn't work. So...
Last chance. Baker Mayfield.
Oh, dude, last chance, bro. This was like
last chance.
This is like beyond the last.
He's getting outplayed by PJ Walker. I think he is, backup quarterback worthy.
Yeah,
from here on out.
I think
it's too bad, but
he can plant his flag on that depth chart.
And you know what? No, hey, you know what? I like Baker. I'm not going to be the guy.
I'm just trying to be funny.
Yeah, well, you want to be funny. how about him slamming his head into all those guys?
You want to be funny? Headbutt
everybody.
Teammates with helmets on.
Which means he's trying to embrace his role,
which I respect.
You know what I mean?
He's accountable, at least, unlike some other quarterbacks.
Yeah, well, fuck. So, yeah, I just thought Baltimore was sluggish coming out of the bye, and defense stepped up in the fourth quarter, 3 turnovers. But God bless you if you watch that game too much.
All right, how about Houston, Washington?
Mystery. What happened there? Like, that game could have been played in a hangar.
Exactly.
Honestly, you could tell me that game. You could tell me anything happened in that game.
Early pick 6 for our buddy Kendall Fuller.
Yeah.
Kendall Fuller.
Yeah.
Friend of the Commonwealth.
Yeah.
And our other guy, Davis Mills, not a great showing, but
not going to be our guy very long, I don't think.
Run of the mill.
Oh, Kyle.
Nice.
Run of the mills.
Thank you.
Plural for guys.
Heineke, I mean, his O-linemen continue to get Jordans, you know?
Yeah, Heineke, who do they have left?
Is that the coolest tradition we have in the NFL right now between quarterbacks?
after Kirk's chain on the plane is now knocked off.
Fugazi.
That chain, Fugazi.
Big Fugazi.
That's what the guy,
Micah came and snatched his chain.
the Vikings guy got so mad at Taylor Heineke for having a chain. He should have been focused on the damn Cowboys. He's out there
Washington-
tweeting about, hey, you can't wear a chain.
That's our thing.
Remaining Washington as Falcons, the Giants back-to-back.
Win-win.
49ers, Browns, Cowboys.
Loss.
Oh, those brown colorway Jordans are going to be hideous.
Or they're going to be sick.
Taylor Heineke really is the GOAT if he can make those look good. We'll see.
We'll give a shout-out. Jonathan Allen, he had 7 quarterback pressures and 2 sacks on 32 pass rushes.
Goodness,
He's a fucking
22%.
Dog.
And he had a big play against the Eagles. He was the one at third down.
Bro, he threw
play
Landon
and he turned
Dickerson
around, he's got that face mask.
out of the club
Yep.
the other day. It was incredible.
Last game, Falcons, Bears.
Assault. Why does Justin Fields not get the calls, man? Why does he not get the calls? Because he's big? Could be another thing.
Could be. It's fucking unfortunate, man, because we're also happy to see Justin Fields and the Bears have, the ability to do explosive things offensively. But then I'm kind of frustrated at the end of the game, the play calling. He's clearly banged up. We're watching it here. And here's the play. He escapes the pocket outside the B gap, slides down, gets hit from behind. It's late. He's declaring himself down. He gets hit.
It's not. It's in the head. It's like right on top. It's like
it's a combination
like
of
whack-a-mole
shitty things happening. That we should see a litany of flags on the field and a 15-yard gain here after the run. But to your point, they're just not calling it on Justin Fields. I hate to see this, and I hope that this young guy doesn't just continue to get bludgeoned. And we saw him on the cart after the game going to the visiting X-ray room in the stadium. Chris, I've been on a few of those X-ray tables in away games. It's no fun. Have you ever been a part of that?
Yeah, I broke my leg in Green Bay.
That was Green Bay.
Yeah.
The fans are very close to you at Lambeau.
I had to ride the stupid cart, board a bunch of elevators. Yeah, it's lonely, man. Your team's down there. You can hear the game.
And the pick at the end of the game, Chris. Justin Fields throws a pick. He gets it over the A-gap. He does a quick flick. And David Montgomery fingertips, it's a 50-50 ball. You got to catch it.
It's high. It should have been caught.
It should have been caught. It was an errant pass.
I heard he didn't play that well. I didn't see the whole game, Justin Fields. I think this is the week he came back down to earth a little bit. I mean, that's okay.
He's still recorded at least one passing touchdown, 1 rushing touchdown for his 5th straight game, with each one of those tying Kyler Murray for the longest streak since 1950.
They keep losing the same way. They can't play defense. They don't have a lot of they're not multiple offensively. Mm-hmm. They don't have enough guys. Shout out to Cole Kmet. Fabulous catch over the middle. One-handed grab, comes down with it in traffic. He's a freak. We've talked about Kmet before on this pod, but I really like him as a physical presence on that offense. He blocks. He can catch down the field. So there's good things. Mooney with another big catch.
And it's tough with the Bears. They don't have Herbert. He's on IR. He gives them another dimension offensively. And Montgomery, as good as he is, you can see how much better the Bears' offense is with the 2 running back attack.
Yes.
I wonder what the injury is going to be. If it's something where it's borderline, you just protect this kid.
AC or clavicle, and it's non-throwing arm, I think.
Just protect the kid. Like the future is where you're going to win in Chicago.
They're 3-8. It's their 4th consecutive loss. If it's a multiple week injury, it might be shut them down for the rest of the season. We'll give a shout out before we get to our Miller Lite mentions. Cordero Patterson, 9th career kickoff touchdown return. Breaks a tie with Leon Washington and Josh Cribbs.
Career leader.
Incredible.
Congrats to Cordero Patterson, old teammate of mine. Tough as shit. Big old country boy. Loves to run the fucking shit out of the ball.
Yeah.
And he's even more dangerous when you kick it to him.
All right.
Miller Lite mentions. Let's hear them.
Okay. Miller Lite mentions best plane ride. The Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
It's got to be the Dallas Cowboys.
Does it, though?
It's got to be.
They took the chains that Minnesota was going to give to Kirk on the plane.
Yeah, they doubled up on chains. They quadrupled them.
God, I can't give it to the Titans because they had a little too good a fucking plane ride, huh?
And you know what? They weren't. They played in Minnesota, so it wasn't cold. You didn't feel like shit. Nobody was sick on the plane. This time of the year, people get the sniffles on the plane. I don't want to sit next to you.
No, right? Exactly. I don't know who had a good plane ride. The Raiders might have had a good plane ride. It's just the relief. It's the relief of, I would say Kansas City, but it was late, It's their 14th straight road win in division. They do this. Yeah. Oh, Cincinnati had the best plane ride.
That was a good one.
It's short.
Good one.
It's really short. Pittsburgh to Cincinnati, how far is that by plane? So, yeah.
Minutes.
Pittsburgh to Cincinnati.
I imagine pretty turbulent, though. There's a lot of winds down there by those fucking lakes.
It is $147.
See, that's not true either because you got to saying
3-hour flight.
It's not, dude. They're doing the connections. It's stupid, really.
59. It's 59 minutes.
59 minutes.
Oh, same as my flight from Charlottesville to New York.
You can't even. Yeah, you can't even. They don't even get the internet for that long. You
10,000 feet comes and goes.
Yeah, dude. Guys are up there scrolling their timelines. And then next thing you know, you're
That's
down.
like my question about flying from Denver to Vegas. The plane just leaves the runway and goes down the whole time?
Denver to Vegas? Yeah, because of the altitude. That's really good thinking, Kyle.
Fuel efficient flight.
That's funny. If only it were true.
Okay.
Worst flight.
My worst flight will be the Jets. You essentially have a child-minded quarterback, no sense of reading the room, particularly the most important room, the locker room. Be better.
He probably has no manners. He's probably just like peanuts.
You want something to drink? Yes.
What the fuck do you mean, Zach?
A drink.
A drink. And then he bangs the flight.
They bring you the wrong ice cubes. He bitches about his ice cubes.
He's just I can't make. I don't think we can go any further with that joke. Yeah.
No, he
you
opened
get the
himself
idea.
up for it.
What do we got next?
No, but it's about the flight attendants. I don't want to. Who says? You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Worst flight. My worst flight.
The
Rams. The Rams had a terrible flight. All their flights are bad from here on out. Oh my God, the Rams
New
flight.
Orleans is so far south.
So far. The only thing good about losing in New Orleans is you get those fucking oysters. You get those Drago's oysters.
You're absolutely right.
Fried oysters. You get them on the bus. It's about the only thing that could make me smile after losing down there. But then you got to get on the flight. They go to the Chiefs. The Rams go to the Chiefs.
Oof.
They go to the Packers. They go to the Chargers. They don't have to go anywhere. And they go to the Seahawks. They have a couple long flights remaining this year.
STL Memorial.
Sure.
The Bills Mafia for making sure their team can get to the airport safely. Also the fans who drove seemingly around the United States to Detroit.
That's good.
And took over that stadium.
That's good. Okay, I want to give this to a guy on Twitter named Kyle Ruiz 4H. He sent at stadiums they say send something in and they put it on the Jumbotron. and this was at U.S. Bank Stadium in Minnesota.
Is this Joel?
Yeah, at the Vikings. This is my cousin Joel, who served in the Army. He has always been an inspiration and someone I look up to for his heroism. He is also a huge Vikes fan.
He's all horned up.
Of course, the square-jawed military
Sims.
man in the picture is Johnny Sins, adult film actor. It's one of the best long-time running jokes. Because, like, you can't be afraid to fire. Because if you fire and somebody says, hey, I know who that is, they're like, you do?
Tell me more about him.
Tell me more about him.
Do you know him as the nurse, the cop, the soldier, or the fireman?
Guy's a 5-tool player.
Or the step bro?
RPG!
Never mind, it's just a penis. Stand down.
Stand down. So, yeah.
Drag out.
So, yeah. Need somebody to breach the door. We'll just have Joel
he'd be breaching.
ram his massive cock through the door. But really, with him, it's more about the motion in the ocean, isn't it?
Oh, man. Can't teach that.
The guy's the tactical wizard. So, anyways.
Matt, what we got?
Yeah, because I don't know that many people picked up on that in real time. I think there's a lot of horny people in Minneapolis. I think of all the states.
It's cold. They just go to bars
they're
and
inside.
play darts.
Yeah, and
drink Miller Lights.
And they
responsibly.
Enhance. That's what they do most of the winter.
A lot of computer porn watchers, not a lot of phone porn watchers.
That's it.
All right, you guys got a fly on the wall?
Yeah, fly on the wall. I'd love to be a fly on the wall in the first medical meeting that Justin Fields and his trainers have today in Chicago.
Yeah.
What was the injury? How bad is it? He was in a lot of pain on the cart. Clearly, he was grabbing that shoulder. And then I want to hear the conversation that he has with the staff, and I want to hear their explanation for why they were running the fuck out of him at the end of the game.
Yeah, I got a fly on the wall, Kyle. It's OBJ watching the two teams that he said that he was going to think about joining, the Cowboys and the Giants. And I thought he was New York bound, but like one team beat the fucking 8-1 Vikings 40-3, and one lost to the Lions in a blowout. So if I'm Odell...
And he said they're going crazy out there.
Yeah, that's what he tweeted after the game, and everybody was in his mentions. Was it Micah Parsons and a couple other guys were said, yep, all right, jump on the train, let's go.
He's going to Dallas now, dude. He's definitely going to Dallas.
It's a perfect fit.
Jesus.
All right,
or Buffalo. Buffalo could use him.
Dallas just screaming his name.
Yeah.
How about viewing party?
Viewing party, the Marcus Jones punt return, I would have loved to have been there as a Pats fan after those 4 quarters of shitty football, and then watching it's like, finally the climax is here.
Honestly, sometimes in the NFL, things get so bad for a few moments that the like your screen, if you were playing a video game and the video game was life, it shakes. You know, you're on the road, you lose the game in 5 seconds. You work the whole game, 3-3. Just like the biggest game of the year. You know those losses that hurt so much it feels like it's jarring. And I was honestly going to say viewing party being a Jet and seeing like what that was like. Just the silence, the locker room, the whole thing, man. It was terrible.
It double doink levels of silence?
Yeah. Can I give a yeah, maybe worse. Honestly, that had to. So I want to give a late viewing party for Jesse and Heisenberg going to a Rams game. They were Rams Cardinals, like 2 backups. Yeah, that's so funny to me. Like, how did that go down? Did Bryan Cranston hit up Aaron Paul? No, I know, but like I know they're friends.
We're
friends
together.
What kind of a friend takes you to a Rams game right now? Like,
That's a good point.
What kind of friends like Jesse? We're gonna go watch John Skelton and fucking no. Honestly, it was Colt McCoy and it was
the Wolf of Wall Street.
Wolford. Like, and I doubt that Aaron Paul's like a huge football fan or Bryan Cranston for that matter.
Yeah,
but like they picked that game.
It just goes to show that they're not.
Did they not want to lose the money on the tickets?
I wonder if someone who like owns the box or whatever was like, hey, you want to come to the game? Asked Brian Cranston, and then Cranston was like, let me, maybe. And then texted Aaron Paul on the side. He's like, yo, I know he asked you too. You going? I'm only going if you're going. And then Aaron Paul's like, all right, cool. You're going to be there.
I think they were coerced into going to that game, Reed. I don't think that's
Do you think they cook meth in real life?
No, Kyle. No.
You know Bryan Cranston was on Seinfeld, right? And one of his most famous episodes was when he went to the Super Bowl, or was supposed to.
Really?
Yep.
I should have made that an America's team today. All the good people and some bad who like Seinfeld that are trying to convince me it's good. Keep sending me videos.
It's actually, you know what? It's not our standard form of comedy, but it's good.
My favorite are the guys that are like, well, I got this one guy who's like, well, most people with highly functioning brains like Seinfeld. And I'm like, well, that's why you're just not a funny person. Doesn't that suck to not be funny? You'd be so fucking smart and not manage to be funny. How's that working out for you? It's just you're not a thinking man. Okay, you metrosexuals.
How about a hollow man?
A hollow man? Sure. The FIFA president. Today I am gay. Today I feel migrant worker. Today I feel handicapped.
I missed this.
Oh, you haven't seen it?
No.
Can you pull this today? Get that guy off my screen and punt him into the atmosphere, like out of the solar system. I've never heard a more tone-deaf diatribe. This fucking guy. Presumably pretty old, this guy. The president of FIFA. He's been around
Looks
a while.
like Elmer Fudd.
He's been around a while.
That too.
Gianni Infantino.
Kind of looks like RuPaul to me right now because he feels like RuPaul. He feels like, look at this guy. His Gianni Infantino loosely translates to giant baby. Listen to there you go, PFT. Listen to this shit. And do you know the background, Kyle? Can I explain it to you? Do you know what's wrong with Qatar? Various human rights violations, terrible
like
treatment
gays,
of women.
They don't treat women right.
They fucking
slavery.
They built these stadiums with slave labor.
They told Harry Kane he couldn't wear his like all One Love band.
Can't take pictures. Can't drink beer.
All those nations kind of copped out. There was like 6 countries that were going to wear the One Love band, and then they said that they would give them a yellow card if they did, and so they all backed down, which...
So pull this joker up real quick.
And they also stopped selling beer like the day before the tournament.
Today I feel Qatari. Today I feel Arab. Today I feel African. Today I feel gay. Today I feel disabled. Today I feel a migrant worker.
He's ethnofluid. And amongst other things.
To acknowledge that being a European, there's a lot of baggage there. Like when you look at the history of the world, and then to throw it back and be like,
I'm all these things.
How it's amazing that Europeans could criticize us. It was just terrible. It's the worst thing ever.
And Alex Scott is the English reporter who's wearing the One Love LGBTQ armband in Qatar.
Shout out to Alex.
So, anyways, Hollow Man, that guy. Also, Mecole Hardman, who fakes.
That is the story of the fucking week for me. Is the Mecole Hardman full screen YouTube crack screen plasma.
Took the first YouTube thing and faked the funk.
And Twitter sleuths are like,
what's the point of that? Is he like going viral? Did he hire a media team?
Somebody, it's a clout.
Does he like chasing cloud? He's pretty fast. He'd probably catch it. He didn't try so hard. You know?
I saw it this morning for the first time, and I did some research. Me and Ree were looking at it, and I was like, I cannot believe
you know the guy
that this happened.
Did you see that coming? You love Mecole Hardman.
I could see it coming. He's a Twitch streamer. He's looking to get some interactions. I can see.
Okay, good for him though.
He's not playing in the game.
Whatever. I respect the fucking being bold about it.
Kyle, did you have a hollow man?
Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy, get your guys out of the game.
Yeah, okay.
I don't care how many sacks they need to get because the Dallas Cowboys have an opportunity to fucking run the table here.
Yeah.
If you can stay healthy and keep your superhumans healthy, you can run the table. The Dallas Cowboys can win the NFC. They can go to the Super Bowl.
Yep.
And by God, they can win it, especially if you go get a guy like Odell Beckham.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a short week. So.
I know that Mike McCarthy's gotten a lot of shit for not being the smartest situational football coach.
Yeah.
And I tend to defend those guys because there's a lot going on in the football game. But one thing that stands out to me is if you're up 37 points in the third quarter, get your fucking all-pros out of the game.
All right, Bevel Conway.
Unless it's me, which you don't have to worry about because I wasn't an all-pro, but I need them sacks. And that's what I would be saying if I was Mark.
See, you were right there in the happy medium spot where you're like, I'm getting this fucking bread today.
You can't, I'm not an all-pro. You're not taking me out. You take Robert Quinn out. All right, so listen, game ball. Oh, Bevel Conway, that's USC, UCLA.
Great choice.
USC, UCLA also...
Last night.
I've done this before. I've said Chiefs a lot.
It's beautiful.
But my God, it's almost, and Reed brought this up, it's almost the same colorway as the USC
Ty goes to the
game.
Rose Bowl and the old, not the Rose Bowl. Ty goes to playing outside. Ty goes to playing outside. I don't like looking at that LA stadium on TV.
I think it looks really cool.
I don't know.
Bright lights,
It's inside.
man.
It's inside.
But that's why we're different.
Yeah,
And
we're
that's why
different.
it's
That's why
Gary Clark Jr. song, Bright Lights.
Yeah, maybe that's our
Bright
layup line.
lights.
That could be our
Bright
layup line
Yep.
or something. Okay, game ball. It's going to Patrick Mahomes. And game ball, I'm going to give a game ball to Robert Griffin III, who last night realized that Patrick Mahomes is the MVP. he tweeted, he's like, and welcome to your new MVP leader in the race, Patrick Mahomes. I was like, holy shit, man. Rip Van Winkle, where you been? I know, bro. I know we gotta hype up the guy in Miami. He's playing great. And he deserves to be in the conversation, but there's only one MVP this year unless he goes out and bombs the last.
It's almost like Dan Marino, very, very good football player. Great. Greater than great.
Yeah.
But there were some other guys that were playing too.
Well, that's look, you're gonna totally try to just you try to
the
trigger.
Dolphins.
Yeah, got it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like there's some pertinence there.
There's a lot of pertinence, but Patrick Mahomes is the MVP, bro.
Yes.
He did that with Jody Fortson. His guy's name's Jody Fortson.
Jody Fortson.
Like the 11th time
Valdosta
he's done this.
State.
It's crazy.
Pacheco, who's a player now. Like it's just a bunch of guys that it's found items.
I'm giving the game ball to Travis Kelce with a triumvirate of tutties.
Nice. Okay.
Clearly, they were coming for him as usual in the
Triumvirate.
secondary. They hate Travis Kelce in the division.
Do you have a word calendar?
What's that?
Like where every day there's a different word on there. Yeah.
I just am obsessed with that heavyweight fight between Derwin James and Travis Kelce. And Travis, 2 games of 3 touchdowns this year. He's a beast. And when you talk about game ball or MVP, like the most valuable guy out there is the guy that you're going to throw to every fucking time when it matters, right?
I agree, Kyle. And we just went long. I hope you guys enjoyed the pod. I hope
A quick stat checking what you asked for earlier before we get to Nicole. From 1994 to 2020 in the NFL, on first down with 35 yards or longer to go, there were 19 instances. 9 times the team that had that situation won the game, went on to win the game.
So you're sub 500. Which makes a lot of sense to me. And Reed, God bless you for looking that up. That's incredible.
One of those first and 35 were completed. It was a 44-yard pass from Tom Brady to David Gibbons in 2004.
Wow.
2004.
Wow. Givens, man, wherever you are, take it easy. Here's Nicole. Nicole, how much do you hate Ohio State?
That's where you want to start this week?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like describe that because people talk about the rivalry, but I think everybody has like a unique hatred of the school. Describe the hatred you have for Ohio State if you have it.
Well, so I think like if I had grown up in the state of Michigan, grew up in the rivalry more, I would have more hatred towards the other school. But to me, like this is very different than Michigan State. That there's a lot of hate in that one because
Right.
I think you're seeing everyone every day, and like my best friend's married to a state grad, right? And like they're arguing over what they're dressing the baby for the game. Like
that
Michigan,
would suck.
yeah, no, I was like,
Thought of that.
I was like, you need to like one of them needs to be like a diaper so that they like poop in the diaper of the other school. So like Michigan, Ohio State feels like there is a lot more just like respect, right? There's like a respect that this is historic, that this is one of the best rivalries in all of sports. But yeah, it's definitely heated. I mean, like I personally, as someone who has driven through the state of Ohio with Michigan plates on the car, have gotten pulled over for barely going over the speed limit because it's Michigan plates. And then I'll do the exact same thing driving faster in New Jersey plates, don't get pulled over. So it's
really?
like these states really do hate each other. But no, it's funny just because like part of my feelings about Ohio State fans are they think that everything I say and do is through the lens of I hate Ohio State.
Right.
And I'm a Michigan homer. So that's where it bothers me more because like I've written probably more stories about Ohio State than Michigan over the years. Like I was at Michigan for the worst 4-year stretch of Michigan football history and covered Ohio State when they went to the playoff the first year, like basically lived in Columbus and wrote a million stories on them for USA Today. But nope, I'm
there's
biased.
nothing worse than and there's so many that are like, you hate my team. And you're like, no, really, I don't. Like, I really don't have that much against you. Like, I'm a Michigan person. You just said it. Like, I don't hate Ohio State, but people will never believe you. That's the whole deal.
No.
So,
and, like, I'll hate certain things about the fan base because of that reason. But, no. Like, some of my good friends in sports media and in these jobs are Ohio State grads. So, like, it's not like that. I think there's always, because it's a national rivalry, like because everyone's been aware of it for so long, I just think there's like this respect to making sure that it's great. Like I had friends on both sides of this rivalry hoping that the other team would stay unbeaten to make it a bigger deal. Like I don't think that's that kind of rivalry. It's a little bit different.
Yes. Yeah. And this is the first time since 2006 both teams have been undefeated. So tell me how you see it going down, and who do you think? I guess it makes it really like it's not just the two undefeated teams, but also two teams that got chin checked this week. I mean, not surprisingly in my eyes, but like maybe Maryland a little bit more so. But no disrespect there. I just feel like those are the games when both teams come off a tough game like that, where they get chin checked and they got coaches yelling at them all week. Like now, it's really going to be. It's a cherry on top of all the hatred, of all the pageantry, of all the history. It's like, okay, these two teams are locked in, so I'm really looking forward to it. How do you think it goes down?
Yeah, I really have no good feel for it. And maybe that'll change as the week goes by. But like week to week, been trying to figure out, okay, who do I think is playing better right now? And for a good portion there in the middle of the season, I thought it was Michigan. And then like the lack of a vertical passing game, like JJ's not able to do it, not throwing it very much. They haven't done it a lot. Like all of that's very concerning. I don't know, outside of Ronnie Bell, who they're throwing the ball to outside of their tight ends, right? Like you should have more receivers who can get separation and who can make things happen in the passing game. I'm sure Blake Corum, it sounds like he's going to play or is going to try to play, but if he's not 100%, what does that look like? Like those are major concerning pieces because like been waiting all year for that vertical passing game to emerge and to grow, and that didn't happen. Ohio State, like their bigger issue is they've had all these injuries, right? And they haven't had their full stable of running backs, but they found something and they keep having like the next great running back pop up. But that's been the concern about like, can they run the ball with a running back when they need to run a ball and the opponent knows that you're running the ball? Like I'm concerned about that. And just in general, like the toughness, the stuff in the trenches, all the stuff where Michigan beat them last year. Like this is where we see if changing defensive coordinators and all the different things that they talked about what they learned from themselves in that loss, like this is where we see if it actually paid off, like if it's more than just words. So I don't have a great feel for it. I think Ohio State has a higher ceiling as a team, but Michigan had been more consistent. So I think I would give it the edge to the Buckeyes because they're playing at home too. And the whole, like, we haven't seen them come off a loss in this game in a long time, but I don't feel great about that. I have no idea.
So let's say you have Georgia staying where they are, right? They're undefeated. Okay, like let me lay this out better. Let's say you've got obviously the top two teams, Georgia and the winner of this game. Those two teams stay undefeated, and then you've got TCU undefeated, and you have USC making a run and winning the Pac-12 championship. The conference championship has to mean something, right? Like it's definitely not like people aren't going to be looking at a one-loss Big Ten championship loser and saying, maybe they should be in over USC.
I would hope not. I've gotten a lot of pushback for saying basically exactly what you did, which like the conference championship is supposed to matter. It's listed as a tiebreaker. It hasn't always been used that way, but in a lot of cases, it's been a team with like more losses or whatever that is. I think USC should be in if they win out. They have two top 25 wins right now. Their one loss is to a team that's going to be ranked, but was 10 entering this weekend. Close loss on the road, very emotional atmosphere at Utah. Like that's an okay loss. And then I think, you're going to have 2 more opportunities for top 25 wins. Like not many people have the close to the season that USC does. And they already were at a pretty good spot coming into that. So I think that would be a mistake if the committee decided not to do that. TCU probably needs to stay unbeaten. I've gone around in a circle on this, but I think they need to stay perfect. So to me, that's your 4. If that's what happens, it's Georgia, it's the Ohio State, Michigan winner. It's USC and it's TCU. It's probably in that order because again, I think USC's resume would be boosted so much by these top 25 games. The more interesting scenario would be if Michigan beats Ohio State, Michigan wins Big Ten.
Right.
And then Ohio State is the one loss at large team because they played Notre Dame, which is now a good win because they're in the top 20. And they challenged themselves in the non-conference. Right. And you would be saying like their only loss, let's say it's a great game, close game. And, you're just saying like they're one of the 4 best teams.
It's just people talking themselves into Ohio State. I really do feel that way. Like, and I might be feeding the flame here when it comes to the Michigan-Ohio State thing, but I do feel like there's a little bit of a bias where people are like, we've decided that they're the second best team in the country or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And they don't do that for Michigan. And part of it is because of y'all's schedule, but I think also they eyeball test a little bit.
I think it's Ohio State I come back to, again, I think a higher ceiling. Like, I just think they have more talent and the explosiveness, and CJ Stroud is a really special quarterback. JJ's still really young. We're still like, he was super accurate in like the short and medium passing game, but wasn't really doing it in the deep passing game. Again, they just have Ronnie Bell. The receivers aren't great at getting separation. Like, he's not getting a ton of help in this area either. But and then Donovan Edwards has been hurt. He's been good catching passes out of the backfield too. But like, I think it's like we see or can picture the top end of Ohio State. Whereas Michigan's been so conservative that like you don't picture that. But this was how we felt about them last year too. So like, although the defense had more like pretty obvious problems on the Ohio State side, but I think you're right. And it's kind of the same way we talk about Alabama, and like now we're talking about Georgia, right? Where like even if they lose, we're like, oh, but we still think that they're one of the best teams because we know the talent, we know the coaches, blah, 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 blah. But that is part of the reason that Ohio State's in this position. I also wonder too, like a really late season loss, like recency bias, just sort of some of those natural things that come in when it's a subjective process, like how much that plays in. But I think that's the better scenario if you want to get 2 Big Ten teams in. I think Michigan winning the game because Ohio State has had more respect from the committee and has a better non-conference with the Notre Dame game.
Talking about the SEC, well, I mean, last night, back in the truck up here a little bit, midweek I had heard, hey, Bo Nix not playing, right? So, yeah, like I'm going to bet Utah big.
so this is why the line got so weird, right? Because
that's why the line got weird.
Well, I didn't see it until Friday, and I was so confused. I was like, why is Utah favored in this game?
Yeah, and I was one of those guys that was like, this is about Bo Nix and his ankle and all that stuff. And I heard from my buddy Jeff Schwartz that the backup's not as good, right? And as they aren't. But like this is a particularly questionable situation for Oregon if Bo Nix doesn't play. So I put a lot of money on Utah, and I'm sitting there watching Tennessee slowly lose this game big. Like that fourth quarter, because ESPN was not switching the game over to up to Eugene, where I really want to be focused, but I had to sit there and watch that fourth quarter, and I feel like Tennessee was truly trapped in that like that atmosphere was incredible. And it was you only get this in college football, where it's like the place is so nuts and a blowout happens that you don't expect, and some big favorite, 22-point favorite, goes on the road, and they're trapped in the stadium. Like it was just the game would not stop. The noise, Rattler was big plays from him.
Time is
and
going so slowly.
So slow. There were so many stoppages. There were injuries. There was like scores. It was one of the craziest atmospheres that I've seen in recent memory. And couple that with the fact that Spencer Rattler played really well. Like these fans were crazy. And I wonder what it says about the South Carolina program in your eyes, because I want to focus on them. I mean, Tennessee's out of it. great year. But South Carolina and Shane Beamer and what he said, we're just getting started in Columbia. What does that mean?
Yeah, it was unpredictable because I think, there have been flashes of okay, maybe, South Carolina really got something different and special in Shane Beamer. There were a lot of people that really questioned the call, and they thought it was because of his last name. And, he didn't have the coordinator, play calling responsibilities and X, Y, and Z, right? But, I mean, I love Shane. I think he is awesome. He's just
as hard as it is for me to say.
Right?
And I liked his dad, too. I mean, I saw Frank on TV last night, and that's a guy that beat us 4 times. And, another thing, with the whole hate the fan base, not the team, and I don't hate the Tech fan base. I have no problems with Frank Beamer or Bud Foster. I got a lot of respect for those guys. And Frank was a really cool guy when I ran into him, met him. So I as much as it hurts me to say, I'm kind of pulling for Shane Beamer.
Yeah, he's really likable. And he, every time he's had one of these moments, you just like him even more because of how he's handling it and the joy that he's expressing in those moments. But it just actually really feels like South Carolina zigged a little bit when everyone else zags and was hiring Saban assistants and everyone's trying to make these little, Alabama programs in the SEC. And they really captured something. He is fun. He connects with these players. He's made some really good hires. It goes back a little bit to, there's been a couple places that have tried to do the Dabo Swinney mold, right? Where it's someone who is more comfortable in a CEO type role, but looser, fun,
youth
the
pastor.
culture. Youth pastor is a great way to describe that.
Youth pastor with an earpiece.
Yeah, it feels different, right? It feels different than some of these football coaches who are I'm so serious about the X's and O's. But he's made some great hires. You know how much I love the Mayo Bowl and all the goofiness around that. But his willingness to do that and then lean
get hit
and
in the
go
head
all
by
in.
the jug of mayo.
By the heavy Gatorade thing of mayo, that they mess. The one thing they had to do was dump it, and they hit him in the head with it. But
total mayonnaise move.
I know. Well, it's act like you've been there before. Act like you've dumped mayonnaise on someone before. No, they haven't.
Mm-hmm.
But there's all those little things recording that other video about the dancing at the SEC media days and then going back at Kentucky after they beat them with all the shade. The willingness to do all of that, I can't think of very many coaches that would do it. And it's fun. You can see how much the players love him and just the energy. They've captured something. I love that. It's so different.
This podcast has turned into a Shane Beamer love fest.
I know.
And Macon, the saving grace is he doesn't listen to this shit when he's not on it. So he would be vomiting right now listening to this. He hates Shane Beamer. He's one of those Virginia fans that can't separate it. You know what I mean? Hey, the guy can coach.
See, that's the point we're talking about, though, because in a rivalry, there's the respect.
Yes.
You're talking about the players and the coaches on the other side. They feel the same way, right? You guys know exactly what it was like to be in those games and prepare for them. Your whole season revolves around it.
Yeah.
Whereas, the fans just, it's blind hatred. Here's a good example. It's a little bit of a detour.
Blind hatred by my co-host. This is good.
Well, okay. So, I grew up a Yankees fan.
Yes.
In blind hatred, Red Sox, right? Blind, super into it. Our family is super baseball, softball. So I intern at the Boston Globe, and I'm covering the Red Sox for the Globe for most of the summer.
Right.
So I'm in the locker room, and obviously I'm professional, and I'm doing my job. I've covered baseball for a couple of summers now. And, it's David Ortiz, and he's pushing his kid around in the laundry cart, and, you're just having small talk. I know someone's favorite restaurant they're telling me to go to, and all these little inside jokes. This person, also lived in Ann Arbor at one point, whatever it is. And, I tell my dad this, and he's like, yeah, but don't you, still hate David Ortiz? I was like, no.
It's hard. It's hard to hate people.
He's a person, and he's pushing his very cute little children around in his laundry cart.
Yes.
So it's people don't quite I get how it's so much easier for fans to just blindly hate people that you just don't interact with. That's the part that changes, I think.
I just heard something this weekend about David Ortiz didn't know, I think it was Dustin Pedroia's name, his first name for a decade. And he called him by his nickname, and somebody came up and talked to him one day and was like, hey, Dustin. And he walked away, and Big Papi was like, what the fuck did he just call you? And he's like, he called me Dustin. He's like, why did he call you that? He's like, you've heard it 4,000 times at the ballpark. So there's no way I could hate Big Papi, even if I grew up.
that. Like, you hear that story, you're like, oh man, I kind of love that guy. Right?
Guy didn't even know his teammate's name. That's great. Yeah, no, I'm with you though. South Carolina, huge win. Shane Beamer can coach. Maybe they are just getting started in Columbia. Hendon Hooker, ACL. How does that affect his stock? What was his stock in your mind before all this happened?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we see him on Sundays. I mean, he really did some special stuff this year. This is one of the major bummers of this season, and I hate it. Like, we've had Travis Dye get injured and out for the year as USC is going on this run, in the stretch run. Now you have Hendon Hooker, this amazing Tennessee season. Like, they are not going to win an SEC title. They're not going to win a national championship, but he should be a legend at Tennessee. Right. I mean, the 1 year, the impact, bringing them back, just so electric. I don't know if he's going to be a Heisman finalist. But, yeah, I mean, we see guys come back from torn ACLs all the time, so hopefully it doesn't affect his draft stock. But I do think – I'd be curious your thought on this. Like, I can imagine that there would be some knock on him for the system, right? That this is just like, he's a system quarterback, that a lot of quarterbacks are going to put up numbers like that. Like, do you think that he can, like, separate?
I have to watch
him
more extensively to, like, really, because what I've learned with quarterbacks is, like, you better study them. And, like, I can't just watch him on Saturday and make that call. I'm really not so great at the quarterback thing. It's one of the things that, like, I guess teams aren't either. You know what I mean?
A lot of people miss on that.
There's one guy I'm positive about. Like, if I was a GM, I would tank next year for him. It's Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
This dude.
It's really good.
And I know we're talking about the Heisman, a lot right now, because I feel like this year it's not very clear, right? But if you watch games at night, and you stay up for Pac-12 games, and you watch last night, and you've seen Caleb Williams play, I feel like he just looks so, and I know there's a lot more to this, to the Heisman, he looks so fucking cool doing everything he does.
I know,
He's the coolest looking football player on the field every Saturday, and he happens to be in the race. So Ty goes to the coolest looking player to me, and that's Caleb Williams, man. I mean, watching what he did last night, seeing him in spots this year, he's so special, and I wonder if you think he's the Heisman Trophy winner. If you're going to tell me I'm crazy,
I think he's probably the front runner 2 weeks out. I forget what the deadline is. It's usually like the day after the conference championship games, but because it was pretty wide open, because it felt like it was Hendon Hooker's, right, and it was his to lose, and then we really saw him struggle against Georgia, which a lot of quarterbacks have. Like, I still think. And I think even with this season-ending injury, he could go body of work. He could still get to New York as a finalist.
Right.
But how many times do we talk about Heisman moments? How many times do we talk about, like, the spotlight and the eyeballs on? And that was honestly the biggest problem with Caleb Williams, because I think he would have been considered a front runner sooner if people were watching him, because you just watch some of these throws that he's making, that he's attempting, that he's completing, like, just incredible moments. But yeah, I mean, this was the first one. Nation's eyes all on him for 500 total yards of offense by himself. He is very cool, like super cool at all times. I mean, this is the guy who transfers to USC and gets his entire team like Beats by Dre headphones. Like, he's just a cool dude.
Cool guy. Yeah,
and he's been like the poster child of NIL, but like trying to again make sure that he's doing stuff for like other athletes in the athletic department, all these different things. But just incredible raw talent, like, obviously. And then we've just seen him take all these strides. I mean, part of what USC is doing this year is like the turnover differential, right? Like, he's not making mistakes this year, like, at all. And so anyway, he's been incredible. I do think anyone who has been staying up to watch USC, like, I have to stay up for the top 10 that I do overnight. If anyone's been betting USC games, like, we're the ones staying up and watching this team, so we know how special he is and this offense. Yeah. And even when he didn't have Jordan Addison and his top targets, and then he goes out and does this in the big game, and they've got Notre Dame, and they've got probably Oregon, but it could be a number of different teams in the Pac-12 championship games. Like, he has spotlight games here over the last 3 weeks, which you
want Heisman you want Heisman moments. They're coming. If he's good enough, they're coming. And I think he's good enough, and I think he's got that it factor about him that, like, it makes sense. I think to win that award, you have to have the moments, you have to have the stats, but you got to also have that it factor about it, and he really does. And just a ball player. And on the other side of things, watching Pac-12 after dark. By the way, the officiating never ceases to amaze me. They like killed Chip Kelly on a field goal thing or something. They had to re-kick in second or third quarter of that game, and there was like no, they didn't even stop to be like, this is a terrible call. Y'all are just used to that shit out there.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, they were like, oh, we fucked up the operation. Sorry, you got to re-kick. Like a 47-yard field goal. Okay, so I'm watching up in Eugene, and again, full circle. I watched this game in bed. I watched this game on my laptop with a pillow propped up next to me, so I wasn't blinding my wife. And I'm up till 2 a.m. watching this damn game, like to the bitter end. If you got Utah, and Cam Rising wasn't great. I mean, he made some mistakes and fourth downs. He missed, somebody open at the sticks. He threw a pick. He just, they weren't great in the big moments. And I love Kyle Whittingham and everything, but they let that game get away from him.
Yeah.
But Bo Nix was really gutsy. I got to hand it to him for a guy that we were like going to laugh off this year after the Georgia game. This kid has put together a really nice body of work, and to play hurt last night, some of the throws he made, I feel like he's one of those people that the internet's hesitant to give praise to.
Yeah.
And I think he deserves a lot of praise after last night. That was gutsy, and he's got a chance to, again, do some big shit in the next couple of weeks with the Pac-12 championship.
Yeah, I agree. So, and again, you talk about the stage and the Heisman moments. His Heisman moment may have just happened. I mean, if they go to the Pac-12 championship game, even though they're not playing for a national championship, on one leg, running the fake pitch, and then like the 2 yards that he needed to ice the game to beat Utah. Incredible, especially because to your point, we didn't know he was going to play. He was clearly hurt and limited. That was just, it was so gutsy. And so like for him, we've also had some of these moments for Max Duggan at TCU where like they're just so resilient, and we didn't know that they had this in them because they were so, well, not Max Duggan, but with Bo, he was so inconsistent at Auburn. Like that's incredible. So I actually feel like maybe there's going to be entire games. Like maybe Caleb Williams' first Heisman moment was that entire game against UCLA. But like the Bo Nix, the 2 yards that he somehow got on the ground, like that's a Heisman moment.
Yeah, and like he did have some bad throws. I mean, like he is Bo Nix ultimately. I mean, there were some some times where
the touchdown late was like almost cost them the game.
Almost cost them the game. And then just the play out of the half that they ran, it was like a reverse, and they just dropped the ball, and Utah runs it in. I'm like, of course, I wanted that to happen, but I was like, man, it's got to be tough to be an Oregon fan. Like some of the things going on the field right now, it was like who wanted to win the game more, and it wasn't. I'll tell you what, those two teams were trying to give it away to each other. So. Pac-12 crazy the other night, a lot of fun. SEC. The last question I'd ask you is Georgia. Do we learn anything about how we might be able to beat Georgia? I say we, like the rest of the country, at watching them Saturday night.
I'm not sure. Kentucky had that really impressive 99-yard drive, and maybe there's something you take away. I mean, Georgia didn't. The passing game wasn't really working. Stetson Bennett had his worst game at quarterback. So, I mean, maybe there's something there. It's just interesting considering the teams that we think might be in the college football playoff. Like we're talking about these teams that just have really like a lot of questions defensively, like when you look at TCU or USC. So like, I don't know that there's anything that type of a team can really take from some of the games where Georgia struggled. So I don't know. I mean, it depends how a game against them is going to be played. If it's going to turn into a little bit of a shootout, if you're going to be able to get any pressure on them. So I don't know. I just think that theirs was like it was a weekend of close calls. Theirs wasn't as close as anyone else's, but it was definitely
and they've had two now.
Yeah, they've had two.
It's not like anybody learned anything after Mizzou, so it's
right.
They're still Georgia, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think until they're actually beat, like we'll just default to they're still Georgia.
They're still Georgia. All right, Nicole, I appreciate the time, and there's a lot going on. I can't wait for next week. And hopefully you guys come up with a win. Go Blue, because I feel bad for you guys a lot of years. But, as a UVA fan, having gone through the whole Commonwealth Cup drought, I want you all to win again. So let's go Blue.
All right, you're going to say that until you bet Ohio State, and then I'll get a text.
I'm definitely not betting Ohio State. I'm not doing that shit. I can't root for the Buckeyes.
Okay, good deal.
Listen to the full podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and other podcast streaming platforms. Wherever you want to get the podcast, you can get the podcast. Pretty simple. New episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. Podcasts get pretty wild. This is real tame.